car a lap down, because at Silverstone they were a lap down by half distance.
Good point. So that 2012 car, so the consternation then that has been around the Toyota garage all week about why the new car isn't the second faster, maybe the 2012 car's just going better this weekend.
Well, although it's a 2012 car, it's not really a year old, because remember, its first race was Le Mans.
Correct. Never raced here.
And it never raced here, and it's easy to forget. But there it is, happened on the screen if you're watching in a position to watch a big screen around the circuit or on monitors.
Streaming video, wherever.
Streaming video is the phrase I was looking for. So Marcel Fessler then at the wheel of the number 1 Audi leads the race, and it's now an Audi 1-2-3 with the 4th place car exactly 1 lap down, and that's Anthony Davidson's number 8 Toyota. The number 7 Toyota, which was in the lead of the race and was representing a serious threat, still in the pit garage, the place where it has been now.
And I'm looking at it right now, Paul.
Yes.
And the interesting thing is, this car had overheating brakes, and no one's looking at the brakes.
No.
They are looking at the hybrid system.
Yes, well, that's what we said. We did report that, Nick, that it's the hybrid recovery system that's causing an issue with the brake bias. It's not working. The hybrid recovery system is not working. Therefore, the rear brakes are working too hard. Therefore, the rear brakes are overheating.
Certainly, they're taking off all the safety covers from the supercapacitors. So at that point, I left the garage. And you can fuel it. You can have a fire. I'm not going anywhere near supercapacitors that aren't covered up. Though I'm sure they've been discharged very safely.
You've seen supercapacitors, haven't you?
I've seen little ones, and they can give you a hell of a kick, even little ones.
Especially with those nylon race suits that you're wearing.
Well, I do love it. Yeah, exactly. I do love it with nylon on racing with toy cars. It makes everything go more excitingly.
I think that's it off of that point of view. John's got something far more important to say.
In that we've crossed another hour area, another hour
4.
Hour number 4, yes, and that leaves us 2 hours to go. So let's have a quick rundown. Marcel Fessler leads by 28.8 seconds over Alan McNish, who has a further minute or thereabouts just under on Ollie Jarvis. Audi's 1, 2 and 3. On 1, 2 and 3, Anthony Davidson in the number 8 Toyota has just dropped off the lead lap, and he is 54 seconds ahead of Neil Yarney, who is in 5th position, 8 and 12 in 4th and 5th then. Kung Fu Cheng, Frankie Cheng now in the 13 Lola in 6th position, as we're watching a little bit more jiggery and, if you will, pokery from the 97 and 57 Aston and Ferrari respectively. In P2, Pierre Caffer has just taken over the driving duties of the number 49 Orica. The Pecom car leads by still over a minute to Simon Dolan, who seems to be at the wheel of the 38 Cycling for quite some time. Alex Brundle is back down into 3rd place now, courtesy of an extra pit stop over the car ahead of him. So he's slightly on a different strategy at the moment, or at least on a different pit run. So 49, 38 and 24 the top 3 in P2. In GTE Pro, Kamui Kobayashi leads by 8.5 seconds over Giancarlo Fisichella, and we still have Ferrari, Aston, Porsche, 71, 51, 98, 97, 91, 92, but still waiting to hear of those potential penalties for the infringement at the end of a safety car period, which was a very, very long time ago now. The leading AM car is Rui Aguas in the 81, still the bright orange 8-star car, ahead of Patrick Bornhauser, who's just pitted in the Corvette, the number 50, and Rothgotha is in the 96 Aston Martin in 3rd position. And it looks like a full service for the Corvette. Nick Damon is down in the pit lane.
Yeah, I was just having a look at the Oak, and we have the 12 in here as well. The Corvette itself is picking up a full service. I'm actually going to go and see if I can find someone in the back of Aston to tell us what's going on, even if they can't do it on the camera as such,
okay,
or the voice.
So just 2 hours to go, moving into the last third of the race with RadioLeMans.com, powered by Nissan on 106.5 FM around the circuit. Paul Truswell, John Hindorf, Graham Goodwin. And this has been a very interesting race. Sad to say that number 7 Toyota has dropped away just a little bit after the hybrid issue has caused braking issues, and into the pit lane has come Tracy Crone, who has now vacated. Ah, no, he's still in the seat. Well, that's Tracy out of it, isn't it? It's Tracy out of it, and they were having trouble there, I think, pushing the seat forward because he is a big lad, tall lad, is Tracy Crowe. Nick Damon has been doing a little bit of detective work, worthy of Joe Bradley down at Aston Martin.
Well, I've done better than that. I brought out a man who'll be able to tell exactly what's going on. I'm with Dave Richards. Dave, we saw quite a long time ago now the two of your cars called for a potential infringement on the safety car rules. On listening to it, we think there may have been a mistake. We had no further action seen. What's happened with those penalties?
We went and saw the clerk of the course. We're very clear on our interpretation of that. We believe there's no issue at all.
I mean, because on the talkback radio, we heard Eduardo Freitas very clearly saying that the pit lane was not open until all the cars had passed. Is that not what's written in the regulations? Was that your argument?
No, I don't want to go into the detail here now. It's not the right place, but it's very clear from our interpretation of the regulations that nothing was wrong on our side.
And the clerk said that, so it's a dead issue now, yeah?
We haven't heard any more about it, so I assume they put it to bed.
Thank you, David. Thanks a lot. Cheers.
Nick, there's one thing actually does occur to me here is that aside from the fact that it would mean that it's far less likely that the Aston Martins could catch the two leading Ferraris, even if they are pinged at this stage, it's not going to make any difference because it is third, fourth and fifth place cars all did the same thing, therefore would all be pinged and are far enough ahead of the sixth place car to not make any difference. Oh, that was close.
And that was another unsafe release in the pit lane, and that was the 8-star car, which is comfortably leading the AM category, and it didn't need to be let out right in front of the IMSA Performance MacBook Porsche.
No, it's the other way around, I think, Joe. The other way around, because they were both coming out. So the 8-star...
No. It was the IMSA car stopped 2 pits further up.
Was the IMSA car doing a stop and go? Because he
could have been.
Yes, because he literally followed the 8
Yes,
car out. So I think what happened was the 76 came in. Obviously they thought at the 8-star pit he's going to stop because he only stopped for a nanosecond.
It happened on the way into the stop go, Nick.
The 8-star car was released right in front of the 76 car. The 76 car hadn't cleared it and then went in and did his pit stop.
Anyway,
leader in the pits.
We have Marcel Fessler already out of the number 1 car, almost before they got the car to be stopped. How did they do that?
Ejector seat.
Oh, that is remarkable. Who's got...
well, Andre Lotterer should get in. That'll be the rotation, and we believe that all you need to do for ever onwards now is just read down the side of the car.
Okay.
And that's what it is. And so Lotterer gets in. I'm not totally sure how this is working out. I mean, whether this is actually the lead car, depending on when the race stops. I think what Paul said about an hour ago, whether that's still the case, and whether overall the 1 and 2 have got closer or further apart, or whether 3 is in all this. I've been too busy running up and down trying to work what's going on in the pits.
It's all very closely balanced, but number 1 does seem to have a faster average lap time than number 2 does, and that's overall, bearing in mind the driving of Alain McNish, Tom Christensen and Loic Duval. Of course, the thing that Audi has done wrong, I mean, it's nice that you mentioned it about the driver sequencing. I thought it was always rather nice with the number 1 car because each of the drivers had an accent in name. Andre Lotterer, Marcel Fessler, and... exactly. And Loic Duval, of course, has a sort of accent, and now we've got Marc Genet in the number 3. It's ruining the pattern.
Oh, it's shocking. The 57's back in again. Weren't they in again a second ago, the Tracy Fronton car?
They were trying to move the seat.
Now they're back in again to change one of the tyres. I don't think they're doing all of them. This is the world's most cockeyed bit of I think they've had a seating issue. They're now changing the back left. And that's it. So they came in, gave it a bit more fuel and changed one tyre. So they're obviously going through the entire Keystone Cops pit lane. And that car snaked off there like it wasn't actually done up properly. So watch out for that one. Not sure that's all put together properly.
Johnson still in the car.
Now, as a result of that pit stop then, with Andre Lotterer taking over the number 1, Alain McNish now leads the race in the number 2 Audi, but he has fuel enough only for another 3 laps. So the length of time that the number 1 is leading the race is longer than the length of time that the number 2 is leading the race. And then the number 3 car gets a look in as well. So it's still very, very finely balanced. But look at Andre Lotterer go as John.
Bad news, I'm afraid. Down at number 7 garage, the shutter has come down on the debut, the race debut of the TSO 30 for 2013. The revised car has performed, we are told, very well indeed in testing at a variety of places, including at Ricards. However, it has not lasted much beyond half distance here, a little bit more than that in fairness. Started to have problems a wee while ago, and the bringing down of the shutter normally means, or is taken to mean at Le Mans, of course, that the car has been withdrawn. It may be that here they just don't want any more prying eyes when they take the car to pieces. It's not that long to Le Mans. It's 49 or 48 days to race day this weekend.
2 weeks less than that to test day.
Yep.
June the 10th, yeah, June the 9th rather, Mum's birthday.
But on the other hand, I don't think that was bad.
They showed good pace, and they showed good pace for a long time.
It's easier to make a fast car reliable than it is to make a reliable car fast.
That's true. However, and I certainly I won't argue with that. No Toyota has ever finished a 24-hour race, sorry, WEC LMP, because otherwise I'll get people telling me about Japanese races or something. But
they've won the Fuji 24 hours, yeah.
But in terms of prototypes,
finished a 24-hour race.
Yes, in terms of prototypes.
No, haven't finished.
Didn't they finish third with the GT1, which was, let's face it, a prototype?
Yes. Okay. Yep. No, I'll go with that.
I failed to get in the road. I failed to get in the road car. That car existed. It wasn't a prototype at all.
But it was very funny.
It didn't really have the pedals so offset you actually need 8-foot legs and 2-foot arms at all. I've no idea how the demonstration runs. It must have been driven by 2 people. Because I don't believe that there's any person of the shape that required to use the control of that car.
Absolutely. Anybody who's driven an early 911, it's not an issue, trust me. And speaking of 911s, although not an early one, this is a 997. It's in the pits for the number 88 Felbermeyer car, which is in third position for Paolo Roberti when it came into the pit lane, and he's doing very long gaps, very long runs on its fuel. It's been going very well indeed. It's 81 from 95 Ferrari, back in the lead of the AM category with the Aston in second place. And now Stuart Hall has gone through in the
96.
In the 96, sorry, yep. Aston Martin into third place on that pit stop. But as I say, that Porsche goes an inordinately long way on its fuel.
Meantime, up at the front of the race, Andre Lotterer has decided, time to go quickly. 2 minutes, .964 makes it the fastest lap of the race on his lap 1:15 in pursuit of Alan McNish in the lead. And obviously Alan is due the pits any time now. But 2 minutes, .964 takes 6 seconds out of the previous lap time of McNish, who had a bit of traffic, I think, that time around.
And I mean, that is not only is it the fastest lap of the race, but it's the fastest lap of the race since lap 5. So nobody went faster in that time. Now, I suppose the air temperature is now beginning to drop off a little bit. That may be enabling the engines to breathe a little bit more easily. Not quite happy hour as we get at Le Mans, but as we get into the later stages of the race, if the cars are on good tyres, then there is every prospect with a good groove dialed in, lots of rubber down, and less traffic around. Although we've only had 2 retirements, there could be more improvements to come. Andre Lotterer, though, 2 minutes 0.964, fastest lap thus far.
Don't forget, you can get in touch with us here in the booth at Specutainment, at Radio Le Mans, and DSC this weekend.
It's DSC Race Live on Twitter, and follow us at www.dailysportscar.com, where we're running a live race ticker free of charge. Follow that, and there'll be pictures added as and when we get the guys back in from sunbathing by the side of the track.
Nick Damon is at RC Racing, RC Romeo Charlie Racing, and he's been taking all kinds of pictures over the weekend, so if you haven't been following him...
Racing pictures, we should make that clear.
Of cars,
yes.
Yeah. By the way,
not just cars, knowing you. But
no, the key thing is I'm not Richard Childress Racing. I do get, after any NASCAR controversy, a couple of rednecks berating me for something my team has done.
But you wish you were $1 behind him, mate.
Yeah. or many, many thousands.
Okay. And we have still got then somewhere in the region of an hour and 3/4, so about a Grand Prix distance around here still to run as the slightly pre-loved looking AF Corsa comes out, the 51 car. It's just a bit of rubber damage actually. I thought there was more damage on the nose of that than there actually is, just where it's been hit by rubber debris around the circuit. Meantime, Andre Lotterer continues to keep up the pace. He's just done that car's fastest first sector at 34.8, and that's where the 3 car was earlier on in the race, although now Ollie Jarvis down to 34.5, held up by the Matmut IMSA Porsche. Still one of my favourite colour schemes with that metallic tricolour colours on that car. It looks like the paint is 2 feet deep in places.
Doesn't it just? It's beautiful.
Magnificent.
It's Jimmy Bruni, by the way, back at the wheel of the 51 car. He joins in 4th position in GTE Pro, but with the 3 cars ahead of him all due a stop at some point reasonably soon.
Talking of being due a stop, so is Alan McNish at the wheel of the leading Audi number 2, and just to recall, he has only been in the lead since lap 114, so it'll be 4 laps in the lead for Alan. And as I say, that's going to play into the hands of the number 1 car.
Cycling through the pit stops in GTE Pro, Bruno Senna is the next to come out of the lead in the 98 Aston Martin, man leading the FIA World Championship at the moment. Senna leads the World Championship. I think that headline might have been written before. And for those asking, particularly at Robert Allen too, hello Robert, he's tweeted at Specutainment and said, I've been away for a couple of hours. How dare you? How many pit stops has the AF Corsa done to the Astons? Well, the 71 car is roughly on the same sort of stop strategy. Tony Vielander has just done his, or that 71 car rather, has done its 4th stop recently. Jimmy Bruni's just gone out after his 6th, but there are 2 stop goes, 2 penalty passes through the pit lane there.
He will rue at this stage, John. I think he's going to rue those, because you know what, that could just cost him the race.
Rob Fisher has said, what is the difference in livery between the 32 and 33 Lotus? I think it's the 31 and 32 Lotus to start with.
They've got different numbers, aren't they?
And I don't think there's anything bar the mirrors, is there, Nick?
Well, what they do have actually is they have an Audi S sort of little flash of coloured LED on the side of the right-hand light.
Okay.
One of which is red and one of which is blue, I think, and I couldn't tell you which one's which, but I will look out for it next time they come in. As the number 2 Alan McNish comes underneath me with his blue flashing on his around his lights now, and pulls in. Is this a fuel or a full service?
This is a fuel only.
Fuel only.
Right.
Fuel and pressurised drinks and a Tunnocks tea cake chucked in there for good measure.
I don't think he's allowed Tunnocks tea cakes in the racing season, is he? They're having a look with a torch shining a very bright LED, no doubt Audi LED light source, into the holes in the top of the wings as the number 1 car comes through, with Lotterer washing the windscreen as he goes across the start-finish line. And you think I'm joking? I am not. Audi spent a lot of time designing a windscreen wiper that would stay on the screen at speed, and a water delivery system that would get the water onto the screen. It's a very clever piece of kit. It parks straight up and down, and I'm just trying to have a look there. It looks like, I can't see because of the sun on our faces and our monitors, it looks like there's a little bit of dirt or some kind of condensation that may be on the windscreen right in front of Andre Lotterer. It is a driver on the right car, of course.
You're right.
And he's got a really scarmy, greasy mark right at his eye line. And when he's washed it, it's like that squashed bee that you get, and it's just spread it right across.
Whatever it is, it's emulsified with this little bit of oil, whatever it is. That would be pretty distracting, I'd have thought, for him, particularly as the sun gets lower and lower.
And he's just had his pit stop, remember, so he hasn't got the option of getting that sprayed with the foam or having a tear off taken from the windscreen. Those very clever and very expensive, I'm told, pieces of plastic that are on the windscreen to keep the windscreens clean. I'm told they're a bit of a rip-off.
I've heard that one before.
Actually, talking about rip-offs, the number 13 Rebellion has just come in front of me. They have a 3-part tear off, so they have a central tear, a left and a right tear, whereas both Toyota and Audi use a one single screen go. So, and normally they have 9 or 10 on there for the entirety of a 6-hour race. I'm not sure whether they put 25 on for the entirety of Le Mans, but it's a very long process to get those on properly, so they'll come off, and also when they're sitting there, they're not occluding too much of the vision.
I think you have a Porsche in the pits, 91 car, appears to have pitted from second in GT Pro. That's put Jimmy Bruni back up to second position. He's 19 seconds behind Stefan Mucker, still running first, but owes a pit stop in the leading GTO Pro car at the moment, the 97 Aston Martin Vantage.
A battle for second position now between McNish and Jarvis. McNish having done his pit stop, Ollie Jarvis due one in a lap or two, as McNish has target acquired and has got down to around about a second and a half as they go down towards Eau Rouge for what is their 120th time. A number of people just pointing out to us that the Rebellions have managed to stay very close together. 14 seconds indeed between the 5th and 6th place Toyota-powered Lola Rebellions, and only a couple of laps away from the leader.
I'm properly impressed by Rebellion this weekend.
I think this is massive for them.
I mean, and the potential here, if they can meet, okay, we know about the aero, blah 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 blah, but the potential here for a rapid and reliable car at Le Mans is a very good one. If the factory teams run anything other than fault 3, could we have, for the first time in quite a long time?
Gap 12 seconds, 12 seconds. That's gap to Andre, who's in P1. Ahead of you is Ollie.
Is that H?
Not sure.
Could we have a privateer team?
I think Kyle's running that. I think Kyle's running the car.
Kyle is running number 2, yes. H is running number 3.
Thank you.
I mean, could we have a privateer team capable of just nicking something?
We've said, haven't we, that we and you know, people like with the standing of Henri Pescarolo, of Bart Hayden as well has said it himself, we don't expect to be able to go out there and win on outright pace against the Audis and the Toyotas and the works teams, because they're works teams. That just doesn't happen. What we expect is, if they have an issue, that we might be there to get some crumbs from the rich man's table, if you like, and pick up the pieces. And they are exactly at that point at the moment.
Yeah, we just saw a quick shot of teammates. That was Jimmy Bruni indicating to the 54 car, I think it was, Bachelier. I think what he was indicating with his finger there was that Jimmy Bruni, will soon be in first position.
Yes.
Because it was a single finger being shown. I'm sure that's what the international sign language there was.
He was pointing the way that he wanted to have gone by several corners before.
I think probably so, yes.
In the AM category, Rui Aguas 81 leads for Ferrari. The 81 car ahead of the 95 of Aston by a minute and a half now. And then it's Stuart Hall just on the back of that lead lap. Car 45 being asked to have both headlights on, and it has just come into the pit lane for Jacques Nicolet.
They will likely get the opportunity to do just that, if indeed they've noticed it before they release Jacques. Both are on, but it's a little.
It's a wobbly. The left front is wobbly. Needs to put full beam on, I think. The left front headlight. Now we have seen cars stopped at the end of the pit lane at Le Mans. Do you remember when Christensen got stopped one year? Yes, it's gone. It's flickered off again. So it's something to do with the pit lane speed limit, I think, because it was working fine. Somebody needs to tell Jacques that he needs to put his main beam on, and then he'd have headlights on both sides.
Jimmy Bruni reeling in Stefan Mucker with or without that pit stop at the moment, 2:19.824.
Your left light is not on. Your front head left light is not turned on.
And welcome back to viewers of Motors TV in the UK and across Europe, also on the FIAWEC websites. Thanks to Andrew Marriott for the FIA Euro Series F3 commentary. Had Andrew working with us at Silverstone to cover that series. Through to the end of the race now, that has an hour and 37 minutes to run a little before 7 o'clock Central European time, with the sun still bright, still pretty high in the sky, as we're watching the battle for
Third position in GTM. This is Stuart Hall fending off the ever closer attentions of Julien Canal. Stuart in the Rofco-sponsored factory Aston Martin, the 96 car, and the 50 Barbara Corvette. This, of course, the championship-winning car from last season, John, and indeed, I think the Le Mans winning car in this class from last season as well. But Stuart at the moment fending him off as they come down to Pouin.
As into the pit lane comes Ollie Jarvis, thereby giving up second place to Alan McNish, and in the pit lane is Nick Damon.
And any second now he'll go past me because I'm at the opposite end of the pits.
Well, he's already in, mate. He's
in?
Yeah, he sneaked in.
I really hate it when cars come without asking. Biggest problem, of course, is it goes upon whisper power and you can't hear the thing. Well, I can see him now, they've got tyres laid out for him, but I don't suppose he'll be taking them.
Shouldn't need them. It could be Jarvis staying in for another 20 lap stint.
This is the long tail version of the car. Ooh, that's gone up on its jacks, hasn't it? Nick?
Yeah, it looks like, they are doing tyres.
They are doing tyres.
Well, yeah. Again, perhaps they're doing a triple stint, so they're going to do one and then two.
I'm going to offer the supposition here that this might be data gathering.
Change of compound?
Perhaps, because the car will finish probably at this stage no lower than third.
Problem with the right rear that held it up for a moment. Remember, this is the low drag, low downforce car, and they went straight to work on the tyres, and it's gone back out again. Meantime, this battle for third position in the GTE AM, Stuart Hall, and who did we put?
Julien Canal.
It's Julien Canal, is it? Yes. The Labour competition Chevy Corvette, so Britain sports car versus American sports car. Big V8 engines in the front, rear wheel drive, remarkably similar. Well, apart from one's blue and one's orange.
Yeah.
Yellow, rather. But they sound fantastic. I mean, I know I do like the V12, but I've got to say the rumble of the V8 and the Aston is very good indeed. As Julien Canal is dragging up in the hole in the air that Stuart Hall is making in that Aston Martin. He's going to try and go around the outside into the braking area at the end of the Kemmel Straight and into Le Combe.
That was beautifully done by Stuart. He defended beautifully there,
And
kept his line.
Perfectly.
Absolutely fine, and at no point did that look like that was going to get messy. Both these guys very experienced indeed. Stuart, of course, factory Aston Martin driver of old, including the LMP1 car. Of course, Julien Canal, I think, is it 3 class wins on the trot now at Le Mans for Labra. So Julien, you know, a highly experienced young man as well, and great battle as we're now getting down towards the last hour and a half of this race.
We should mention that the long tail car being as it has, this sounds almost counterintuitive. It has less downforce, so the car moves around more, so it's likely to use its tyres more, and that could be just another simple reason for it. We were expecting that from that long tail number 3 car. It's a lovely piece of work that's done there, and again, if you are just joining us now and haven't heard us talking about this through the week, go and look on the internet. There is some video that was shot by one of the Midweek Motorsport listeners at Monza on a private test day, where they took the chicanes out of Monza and ran the long tail car around there, and it going into Curva Grande with no
Flat. Just
chicanes,
flat.
absolutely flat, is phenomenal. And Ollie Jarvis was saying, yeah, it looked great in the prototype car, but imagine what it was like in the R8 that he was driving.
This is the GT3 car,
the GT3 car. He said it was pretty hairy heading into Curva Grande with no chicane in. Meantime, across the line, the gap between Stuart Hall in 3rd and Julien Canal in 4th in GTE AM is still substantially less than a second, as Andre Lotterer gets down to a 2 minutes .882 at the head of the field, and that is a new fastest lap of the race on lap number 123.
I think it's a bit of a message here from Andre, isn't it, to Alan, which is you may have done me last time out, but try chasing this. It seems to be the message at the moment for the number 2 car, Paul.
Very much so. I was just doing some calculations to work out where we'll be in an hour and a half's time when the race finishes, particularly with the pit stop strategies. The pit stops, as far as I can work out, they're going to end up with both cars having completed the same number of stops. So we'll get them in the next time, and that'll then be their last stop. And they'll both do the same stop, more or less same length of time. And I was going to start working out how much more quickly Alan McNish was therefore going to have to lap in order to close the gap, because he'll have a slightly shorter pit stop, and he's got a gap of 24 seconds. But if Andre Lotterer continues to lap more quickly, then Alan McNish can blow all he likes, but he's not going to be able to dislodge that number 1 car, which had a small problem in that it had a puncture and had to make an unscheduled pit stop after a couple of hours. So they were put on the back foot, but they've overcome it, A, by a bit of good fortune with when the puncture happened, but more significantly, B, with the pace, particularly of Andre Lotterer in this stint that he's now in the... he's still in the first half of his stint, isn't he? So he'll come in for his last stop and then take the car to the flag.
Giancarlo Fisichella has had a mixed day today. He's been fast, but he has been penalised, and he's down with Louise now.
Giancarlo, you've been pretty busy in and out of the pits.
Yeah, we had 2 stop and go penalty, unfortunately, and but our pace looks fine. We gain compare our teammates quite a lot. We are ahead of them now. It looks promising, but now the Aston Martin is pushing quite a lot, and they didn't change tires, and they were still very quick. This is very strange. Something happened in just like a switch. So we'll see at the end of the race. We will fight for the victory. This is important. Without the pit stop, it was much easier, but. You know, we are doing our best.
You're not the only ones being warned about track limits. What is it?
Well, it's a turn 4. We came across to the turn 4 and we cut too much the track in the right corner in the Eau Rouge. Unfortunately, we had understeering, and you cannot catch the car anymore when you are behind another driver. It happened too much to us, and was okay.
Thank you.
Seems that Giancarlo Fisichella was saying it's a fair cup, Gov.
Yeah.
I was struggling with their road push. Just a quick one for Nick Damon. He was mentioning about RC Racing earlier on. Darren Leonard at TK Leonard has just tweeted in, just a gentle reminder, there are rednecks watching the stream in Alabama because it's raining here and we're bored. There's
It's descriptive, not in any way insulting.
Okay. It's a demographic group recognised now, isn't it?
It's quite a motorsport friendly demographic, so don't worry about it.
Yeah, okay. A bit like Pebble Dash Man then.
The car on the move that I'm watching at the moment is actually Tony Velander, and he is getting closer and closer and closer to Jimmy Grooney in that 51 car. We've just been talking, of course, to Giancarlo Fisichella, but there's going to be a little bit of a battle here, I think, between the Ferraris for points and bragging rights, and that's going to happen, by the look of things, pretty quickly. Almost a second taken out of the 4-second advantage last time around, and quicker again this time.
And while we're talking about Twitter, don't forget you can follow the FIA World Endurance Championship at FIAWEC. There's a phalanx of people who will answer questions. Don't forget the hashtag FIAWEC as well if you are so inclined. It's been busy on the old Twitter today on Specutainment and at Radio Le Mans. Will we ever see a new Lola prototype or just existing ones until regulation changes make them obsolete? Says Jonathan Mason at JD Mason. That's coming to at Specutainment.
Watch this space. I'm not sure what's going to happen about branding of whatever is coming soon, but something's coming.
Meantime, the Lotus of Antonio Liuzzi has come into the pit lane, and that's a full service down there. I'm going to wait until Paul finishes doing what he's doing because he's frantically calculating at the moment.
I'm fine. I'm playing for time because I've got a few laps. I've got Muka coming in on that 113, so he's currently on. Stefan Muka is currently on 111, so he's got a lap to go yet.
And when he does, Paul, Makovic, the 98 car, is already made that stop, hasn't it?
Correct.
So,
yes.
So we're going to have the top 3 in GTE Pro within 10 seconds of each other. It'll be Bruni from Valander for Makovici once that stop's made.
And you wonder where the Ferrari would have been, the 51 Ferrari
Exactly
would have
so.
been without the stop and goes.
He would have been a small red speck in the distance.
Oh, that's, yes. Right, anyway, you wanted to ask a question, John?
No, I
was
just
it.
thought you were calculating something frenetically there. The gap at the head of the field's gone out to just about 30 seconds between Andre Lotterer and Alan McNish. 1, 2, and 8 is Anthony Davidson in third place. He's about a minute behind Alan. That's a Ferrari
That's
being pushed backwards.
That's the 61 car.
Oh,
It's
that's Matt Griffin who's come in, Thrapston's finest.
And that's from for sixth, sorry, in GTE Am.
Matt Griffin, one of a number of drivers who'll be making the quick dash across back to Northamptonshire. I mean, Matt lives there, but it's Rockingham tomorrow for the Avon Mobile One British GT Championship, and it's round 2, and we'll be having some qualification coverage of that tomorrow afternoon. We're trying to get some practice in as well. Just depends what time we get there and get set up. Won't promise that. That could be a bit of bonus coverage here on RadioLeMans.com. But we will have the whole race live on Bank Holiday Monday. It's the first of the longer races of the season, 2 hours. It's a good field again. I think there was over 30 cars at Hilton.
35, or 33 or 35 we're expecting at Rockingham, and then 40 for Silverstone, I'm told.
Which I think we'll also have live as well.
Watching Lucas Lure at the moment, guys, who is closing in on Alex Brundle gradually for second position at LMP2. It's the 49 Pecon car still well ahead in that battle. It of course took that big advantage from the safety car earlier in the race. Alex Brundle has taken up the challenge, but is struggling to keep pace with Pierre Caffer at the moment, and he's being reeled in a little by Lucas Lure in the Jota Zytek Nissan. This is, of course, guesting from the LMS and doing a bit of pre-Le Mans practice with their driver lineup. So Lucas Lure getting a bit between his teeth.
Down to Nick in the pit lane. Holly has just tweeted, could someone find Bruno Senna and ask him how his first double stint in WEC went?
Has he got out? Because we have the 97 in the pits now.
Yeah, Mako's already got his. Stefan Mucker is out.
Not referring car 3, but car 26. The message concerning the fire under the rear hood was referring to car 26 and not to car 3.
That's just flashed up on the screen in the 26 car with Roman Rusinov is in the pit lane at the moment.
Fire under the hood.
Under the back of the car. That was, I think, to stop them pulling the Audi in. A very quick bit of preventative work there by
Eduardo
Freitas and the rest of the team, as Andre Lotterer continues to leave. 1, 2 and 8 from Ollie Jarvis, just 9.5 seconds behind and catching Anthony Davidson. Anthony owing us a stop, of course.
Yes, that stop from Anthony due fairly soon. He'll be coming in on lap 129. So he's on lap 127 at the moment. He's completed 126. He's on his 127th. So 2 more laps for Anthony Davidson. But of course, whereas the number 7 Toyota was briefly in the lead before its pit stops, the number 8 car is not quite as quick as its brother car, sister car, and so isn't able to quite hold the pace. But certainly interesting to compare. He's got himself back onto the lead lap as a result of not yet having made that 6th pit stop. But you will still need a 7th pit stop, so there will be no running for the 6 stops. Over the space of 24 hours, it might be possible for the Toyotas, if they are more economic. They certainly seem to be, on the evidence of Silverstone and Spa, the Toyotas go further on their tank full of petrol.
Had this in from Maranello GTO on Twitter. How many ex-Formula 1 drivers are competing in the 6 hours of Spa this year? Graham Goodwin?
I think 16.
16 we have the bid from Goodwin.
I think it's 16.
To name them
Where are you? Whose pit stop are you next to? Alex Brundle's,
yeah. Second place P2 car.
Is Alex standing in?
No, he's got out, and Olivier Plas got in. So they've done a standard stop. They're about to do a little one of those little pressurised oil tops before they release the car. Last tyre now going on. And there'll be a bit of a pressurised oil now, holding Olivier while they do that. 4-second fill of that, and the car goes and moves on with 2 lights still illuminated. I assume that Lucas Löhr would have gone past him whilst he was sloping around in the pits, not going very quickly.
Only just, actually. Only almost as you were saying that.
Let me just grab a quick word with Alex whilst we're ready to go. Alex, it's the end of your day's work, so what, cup of tea and a biscuit or a cookie, yeah?
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to need one after that. We tried to double stint tyres, and it was really difficult out there. We just massive understeer coming from the 24. Still in there. Times when we put a load of just wasn't going to happen for us.
Thanks, Alex. And, not quite sure why it didn't like his voice, but it's working well now. So yeah, so they are. That double stint obviously was one that let them get past the Jersey car, but now they have to try and live with it on the reverse, John.
There's a technical reason for that. It's overloading the chip and going off frequency, and therefore the receiver can't pick it up. That's basically what happens. The 31 Lotus is in some strife at the moment. With Antonio Liuzzi, he's dropped down in 21st position, and that looked very smoky coming down the Kemmel Straight. I don't think it's long for this world.
Potentially terminal, didn't it? And looked that way, all the way up that we saw through Eau Rouge and Radion along the Kemmel Straight. So I wouldn't be at all surprised to see that one heading for the pits, if indeed it makes it. Lucas Löhr then with Alex having brought the car to the pit to hand over the car to Olivier Pla, up to 2nd position now for the Jota team.
Stuart Hall, by the way, in that battle we were watching earlier with the 2 V8s, has pulled out a couple of seconds on Julian Canal, as through comes the 31 car and doesn't come into the pit lane. How remarkable, he's just gone past us, down towards La Source.
I mean, Lotus obviously previously a supplier of cars to the James Bond franchise. It looked like there's some kind of smoke screen being thrown there, didn't it?
Quite remarkable, that. Looking at this car, it really, I was a bit worried about the 2014 regulations and that the cars might not look as elegant. And there it is again, going through. I wonder if is it grounding out? Or
no, it's more than that.
No, there's definitely a haze coming from that. In fact, you can see now there's a trail of something coming out of the back of that Lotus. Now, whether it's oil or water is difficult to say, but as he breaks into the chicane at the end of the Kemmel Straight, I'll call it Malmedy or Lecombe, depending on... Oh, and someone's gone off ahead of him, down into the gravel.
I'm not sure. That's where they've been taking a lot of curb, John, and it's been thrown up a lot of dust. It might not have been off.
Oh, I'm not sure. As into the pit lane comes the remaining Toyota of Anthony Davidson, and we do have a note of possible oil on track at turns 4 and 5, and that is running all the way down the Kemmel Straight from the top of Radion. Nick Damon is our Powered by Nissan pit lane reporter, as the TSO 30 2012 version, the R&D car, if you like, comes in the pit lane.
R&D, and jumping straight out of it is Anthony, and jumping straight back into it is Sebastian Boemi. This will obviously be a full service. This will, I think, with the last driver changes, Sebastian will take it to the end, which is how long is it to go? He's trying to look at his watch.
Just under an hour and 20.
An hour and 19 minutes left of this 6 hours of Spa. So one more tyre sub after this should get the fuel stops to get to the end. And a tiring and rather busy day. I don't think this car's probably doing what they hoped it would do. As they now begin to do a tyre change, but I'm not sure really whether they're taking an awful lot out of this, because if you look across the back of the garage, there is the skeletal parts of the number 7 car, the 2013, which they're not bothered to work out now. Obviously, once they realised it wasn't going to be doing anything, they kind of thought it would be good. I'm going to see if I can annoy Mr. Davidson as soon as he hasn't even got his balaclava off, and I'm going to try and annoy him. Pack over his hands device and everything else. And no, he's still kind of unwinding. I think he's drink by the looks of it.
I'm surprised. This is a local race, of course, for TMG, because of them being based just, in fact, about another hour or so down the road at Cologne.
An hour and a half. We've got another stop-go penalty, guys, by the way, about to just been levied for the number 45 car for a pit stop infringement, it says here. And that car has just got a lap in hand over the recovering 26 car, the car that we saw earlier in the race where Rusinov has got a nasty off-in. John Martin is actually back at the wheel of that car and going very quickly indeed. So they can't afford to mess about with that pit stop penalty for 45, 31 in the garage. And
Nick has, not you Nick, another Nick, has just tweeted in, has the Lotus just pitted and been over-oiled at the fantastically entitled @Snatch Tractor? I don't think so, but it's back in the garage now, and they're having a good look at everything, as well as the back end. They're taking the time to clean the headlights. And you were right earlier on, Graham. They do have a fluorescent green inner headlights colour on the 31
That was
car.
Nick, not me.
Well, that was you, was it, Nick? Sorry.
No, that is the only way of telling them apart. I've been waiting for 32 to turn up, so I can tell you what colour it is. I think it's blue. I'm not certain. And they are having they're not doing an awful lot, actually, in fairness on it. They're actually plugging the computer in, which is normally the least of your problems when you've got oil falling out the back of the machine. But
you've got a much bigger problem when the oil stops falling out the back of the machine.
That is true. And they are, they're doing a diagnostic first and download the information, and then they might actually...
It'll come up with a fault code, which then somebody look at them and say, there's oil from coming out the back of this.
It's an SMOKE1.
Yes.
A man's got a spanner. I think they've worked out what to do. A man with a spanner has turned up quite excitingly there, and I think he's trying to tighten up a union.
Ian Bolton has said, what happened to the number 7 Toyota? Ian, you're absolutely right. We should recap on that. It was an issue with the hybrid collection system, the energy recovery system on the hybrid, which led to the rear brakes overheating. Clearly, without the hybrid energy recovery system working, then it meant the rear brakes were working too hard. Kaz Nakajima brought the car in for a couple of times. They cooled him down and sent him, cooled his rear discs out and sent him out a couple of times. Then for the third time the car came in, and pretty quickly the garage door, the shutter was pulled down, and that was quite some time ago now, Paul, when that number 7 Toyota came in.
Yes, it was, wasn't it? It was
just after the 3-hour mark.
It was.
No, it's 4. It was 4 hours.
Yes, it was 5. It was an hour and 10 minutes ago. So it was 3 hours and 34 minutes.
Okay, thank you.
So with the ongoing battle, guys, in GTE Pro is just getting hotter and hotter.
Yes, it is.
We're getting fast lap after fast lap.
Top 3 cars are within 12 seconds.
Yep, they are. And
yes, Nick?
Just do a bit of housekeeping, covering the demise of the 61 car with Matt Griffin, that's okay.
Yes, please.
Matt, wasn't really going brilliantly, and now it's in the pits. So, story of the race, really.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't going badly. My first stint was quite good once I got up past a bit of traffic, and Jack did a good job, honestly, because he did almost a double stint. And once Jack got out of the car, it was the kind of fight back for Marco and myself, and I think we were looking at 5th place with potential of 4th, because obviously Jack wasn't going to drive again, and in the stint my pace was. We don't seem to have this weekend a peak of pace with the car, but we've got fantastic long run pace, and I was able to lap consistently almost like 22-1 every lap, and then the drive shaft broke, obviously. Lucky it broke where it did, so I was able to limp it back.
Well, the good thing is you haven't got to wait very long before you're driving a racing car again, because you're at Rockingham tomorrow with John. Yeah,
well, I should be at Rockingham, but there's a couple of issues with the car, so I just found out this morning I'm not at Rockingham, so I'll... so, John, if you're listening, I can have a few beers tonight while you drive back.
Oh, thanks. You wouldn't want to fancy coming and doing a bit of commentary with us on Monday instead, then?
You have an offer, actually, to come up, because you only live down the road. John says, why don't you come up and do some commentary on Monday with him?
I might do, John, but the issue is I've 17 weekends in a row racing, so if I'm not racing for a bank holiday, I think I better spend it with the family.
Oh, that old chestnut. Oh, I love it. It was a quite amusing vignette, actually, but just before I start the interview. They were trying to give the number 45 a stop-go, and they'd leaned over with the number, and they saw the car coming and looked really, really confused because it hadn't gone underneath them. They realised it got in the pits.
I should just note as well, Nick, there that it's much noted in the commentary box here that as the number 1 car heads down pit lane, that Matt mentioned beer twice before he mentioned family once.
And Andre Lotterer just had a handwritten note from Paul saying Lotterer due in, and Lotterer duly does come in with the red fluorescent illumination around the headlight area of the number 1 car to match the red accoutrement.
Red wing mirrors and things, and red gloves for the man who waves him in.
The jazz hands guy, yes.
Oh, it's my job.
Or is that what you do?
Well, I feel that's what I'm born to do. If there's a high-level motorsport jazz hands requirement, for goodness sake, who else would you call for?
Yes, I missed the link there.
Unfortunately, I think they've decided to go another way.
Oh, don't they always?
Any other way.
Yeah, both ways.
Still some concern about the underside of that car. All of the prototypes have been riding the curbs and doing a bit of ditch hooking at times. This car's going to get tyres here, Paul. Were you expecting that?
No, it's Lotterer with a potentially fuel only, but because they did tyres...
They're doing tyres.
They did tyres for the number 3 Oliver Jarvis car as well when it was in. So they may be taking advantage of the fact that they don't have any Toyota opposition. But it might actually just give Alan McNish a chance, because when McNish comes in, he will be due for tyres anyway. And it'll be interesting to see whether McNish then stays at the wheel and takes it to the flag with a new set of tyres. He certainly will need tyres because they took fuel only last time, but the gap was up to 30 seconds. John.
I just managed to... Anthony's now had a nice drink and he's looking much fresher. You drivers, you recover very quickly, don't you? You drivers recover very quickly, don't you?
So I still can't hear, sorry.
You drivers recover very quickly. You were looking awful about 2 minutes ago. Now you look as fresh as a daisy.
Awful? I wasn't looking awful. After Le Mans, I was looking awful. No, that was fine. I mean, as the temperature's coming down, it's suiting the car a lot better, and it's saving the tyres more, and I could easily double stint just then. Yeah, it felt really good, but the only problem is we're so slow on the straight. We can't do anything in traffic.
So that's not just comparative Audi, that's comparative to other P1s and P2s, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, you know, we're at the we're basically running similar downforce to what we did at Silverstone. It's the same car as what they had all last year, and yeah, the old girl's doing all right. It's her last race, so yeah, hopefully we can give her a good send-off. But yeah, we're trying our best. But we're just, you know, this track is all about efficiency of your aero and power, and I think we're just lacking both.
Good to see you smiling, and we'll see you at test day very soon. Thanks, Ant.
Hello to Paul Backhouse, who's sitting in the grandstand opposite somewhere. Let's have a look out there. Obviously listening on 106.5. All right, let's give them a wave. Yeah, there we go. Hello, Paul. Thanks for being with us at Spa. I know there was an inordinate amount of people who, looking at the Twitter late last night, made very late decisions to come across either late last night or early this morning from the UK. So well done to you lot. You've been rewarded with a cracking day and a cracking day's racing.
It's worth doing, I would say, and no, I think it's a cracking event. Easy to do from very the UK. It's actually easier to get to than Le Mans. Less distance from Calais, at least.
By a good couple of hours, yes.
So, yeah, I mean, it's a good trip. It's nicely packed in. And to be honest, having been out at Eau Rouge this morning and previously spectated at Pouhon, there are some great places to watch from. You don't have to just stand opposite the pits. As long as you've got some good walking shoes, it's all walkable as well. You don't have to jump in the car like you do if you're at Le Mans driving around to other parts of the circuit. This is a circuit that you can get to most of, not all of, but a lot of, just by walking.
In the categories then, let's have a look at what's going on. In GTE AM, Rui Aguas still with the lead over the 95 Aston. So 81 Ferrari from 95 Aston, Aguas from Nygaard, and then Stuart Hall just holding on there in third place and just wanted to hold that 2-3 second gap back to the Corvette that we saw him battling very hard for, what, an hour or so ago now, that seems. In 15th position overall, we find our GTE Pro leader. It's still the two Ferraris, 51 and 71, from the two Astons, 98 and 97, and the two Porsches, 91 and 92, and still only a dozen seconds between the top three. And Darren Turner actually is only 40 seconds further back from that. So there's many a slip twixt now and the checkered flag, to rather paraphrase a well-known phrase of saying. And
Darren, in fact, last time around was under 220 and is clearly up for this chase with Pedro Lamy, who's propping up the GTE Pros now, putting in another quick time, 220.107. Not done yet, this GTE battle, is it? I think we're going to see more yet. Nick Heidfeld, by the way, just aboard the number 12 car, still in pursuit of the factory cars, albeit a couple of laps down. But they will be looking for kind of hope springs eternal, I think, at Rebellion, but a cracking show from them as well.
Carrying on down up the order actually, as the sun goes behind what has been a rarity today, a cloud, and immediately the temperature inside the commentary box drops by about 15 degrees Celsius, and we can actually breathe some kind of oxygen again. In P2, 8th position overall has the PCOM Racing 49 of Pierre Caffer, with a minute and 20 seconds, all bar a couple of seconds, between him and Lucas Leur in the 38 Zytek in second, and Olivier Pla now behind the wheel of the 24 Morgan in third position at the head of the field. It's Alan McNish now by 23.5 seconds, but owing us a pit stop in about 5 laps, I would think, from there, with Andre Lotterer in the number 1 Audi in second, and Ollie Jarvis about 40 seconds further back in third.
Yeah, only 2.5 laps, in fact, for McNish. He comes in at the end of lap 138. He's currently on his 136th, so he can finish this one, and then there's 2 more before McNish comes into the pits. So it's leaning more and more towards the number 1. Everything that's happening. Although, no, in fact, even on that last lap, Lotterer fully fueled, lapping more quickly than Alan McNish, and I just wonder whether that number 2 car is coping with some kind of problem there. I mean, it's not in any danger really. It's got nearly a minute of an advantage of the car behind it, but under normal circumstances you wouldn't expect Alan McNish to give away any time to Andre Lotterer, but maybe there is something that's just slightly wrong with that car. But certainly heading towards an Audi 123. But is it a 1-2-3 or a 2-1-3? We'll have to wait and see for the remaining hour of the race, an hour and 5 minutes still remaining. 1 pit stop still to come from nearly everybody. And we'll just be keeping our eyes on whether those are full pit stops or whether some of them will just have a splash of fuel to get them to the flag.
Marco Ciocci sits aboard the 61 car. This is the car we heard a little earlier from Matt Griffin about, and that car with the drive shaft change underway at the moment. They clearly intend that car to get out there and get as many points as possible. Meantime, a quick lap from Sebastian Buemi in that surviving the number 8 Toyota 202.235. Trying to stick with the programme and stick with the Audis as best they can. Fred Makovicky, meanwhile, is closing on Tony Villander.
Fastest first sector for the car by Fred.
And another half a second out of Villander in the second sector. So the gap at the moment is what? That's less than 3.5 seconds now. The gap between the 71 Ferrari, this car running second in GTE Pro, and the first of the Aston Martins, the 98 car, Fred Makovicky.
Hello to @SwampMuscle. Fantastic. Watching in a soggy Nashville, Tennessee on a computer, drinking coffee. This is awesome. Well, don't forget, Circuit of the Americas, a little bit closer to you for the WEC later on.
Just down the road.
Double header.
Just down the road.
Not exactly, but it's a damn sight closer.
It's a very long road, but it's just down the road.
So, Swamp, hopefully we'll see you at Kota later on in the year for American Le Mans Series action on the Saturday and the Sunday, another 6 hours of the World Endurance Championship, the FIAWEC. That's another one of our super endurance weekends. Hope you'll join us for that. Can't wait to see these cars around the Circuit of the Americas. And a couple of simulations with Audi and Toyota around that circuit. And I think it's going to be outstanding.
Yeah, a bit of traffic for Jimmy Bruni, and that gap first to third in GT Pro down at under 9 seconds between those 3 cars now from the 11 it was just a lap or 2 ago. It's compressing nicely, and Darren Turner has not given this one up. He's 50 seconds back from Bruni. We've got just over an hour of racing to go. Lucas Leur, meanwhile, in LMP2 sets the fastest time for the Jota Zytek Nissan race so far, a 2:10.623, and that gap that was as much as what, a minute and 3/4 down to what, 75 seconds now. Still a mighty hill to climb for them, but 4 seconds out of that advantage the last time around from the Leur man.
Yeah, 2:10.6. As through past us goes Ollie Jarvis into La Source, where for the first time now, we're starting to get a little bit of respite from the sunshine. It will be about another 15 minutes before it drops behind the trees and helps us out here in the booth, but pretty much all of the start-finish line is now in shade, and quite large amounts of the circuit, including down the Kemmel Straight. Because of the height of the trees here, the sun comes off the circuit quite quickly, and that's going to really affect the circuit temperature quite quickly.
Yeah, and the elevation change as well, John. So because of the elevation change, you sometimes find that you're not necessarily in the shade of the trees, but you're in the shade of the hill behind you. And you're right, because what that will do is affect track temperature at different places, which might affect your track, the amount of grip that's available, because suddenly the thing that you're gripping is at a cooler temperature, and that won't work as well.
It's certainly a blessed relief in here. I'm sure this commentary booth will be condemned for human habitation after we're done, because it's almost certainly going to be the great smell of man in here for some months to come. It's been a very warm afternoon indeed as we got to Audi the pits. It's Alan McNish.
Nick Damon is down there awaiting the Scotsman. It seems early.
Driver change.
It seems early to me, but I think Paul will tell me it isn't. It's just the last 40 minutes has flown by.
Absolutely right. It's flown by. Coming in on the end of lap 138, which means he's done 2 20-lap stints. If there is any competition between himself and Tom Christensen, Tom Christensen did a 20 and a 19, which just cost 1 lap. But McNish did his 2 full 20s.
And Loic Duval in the car.
Nick?
Yeah, full service. Obviously, what will happen now is they will have to stop once more, but it'll be a short fill, because they'll only have about an hour, almost exactly an hour to run, so they'll get about 40-42 minutes out of this, and then the final 20 minutes. So we need to see how the half-stop stagger winds out. You have to say the one looks a favourite, and of course that will, by the virtue of course of their pole position yesterday, will lead the championship going to Le Mans.
Okay.
The first and the second versus the second and the first, and 1 pole versus no pole.
Right, okay. I'll buy that. That's always assuming everything stays the same.
Well, that's a big assumption, but Audis are very reliable.
Right, okay. Do we think that... Oh, as the 54 AF Corsa blue Ferrari in the hands of John Bachelier goes a little wide right in front of the... Do we assume that McNish, having got out, that Loic Duval then won't be have the pace, Nick, do you think, to be able to take it to the front of the field?
No, Loic will be... I think Loic, all of those 3 drivers are probably equally quick. I mean, I think it's the situation with Lotterer and the Troyer, the number 1 car, are slightly quicker. Whether if the cards fall right for them to make up for their sort of outer sequence half stop is what Paul Trustwell is in the booth for if he hasn't passed out from the man smell.
No, I've good cause in good stock of clothes pegs at the moment, and it's working well. What was interesting was that pit stop from McNish to Duval was 1 minute and 11 seconds. Now that makes me think they didn't put the full amount of fuel into the car because they did everything else. They changed the tyres, they changed the driver, and the only other thing that's going to mean that the stop is shorter is not putting the full amount of fuel. So that may have been the shorter stop, and they may well then, rather than, as you were suggesting, Nick, have a full stop, they may come in when they're at kind of working from the back at the end of the race, working forwards. They'll come in for a full stop then for fuel only for Loic. On the subject of drivers, I take your point that they're all pretty equally matched. However, in the first stint, Loic Duval did do the fastest lap of the race. Yeah. He was quicker than Andre Lotterer was in the early stints of the race. Lotterer then put in some quicker laps, and we'll see. And neither McNish nor Christensen were able to go quicker than Lotterer went in the early stages. So it may be that Duval is the sharpest tool to have, the right driver to have behind the wheel for this final stint.
This is the leader looking to put a lap again on the number 8 car, Paul.
Yeah, and Dr. Wolfgang Ulrich is watching on. Doesn't look too worried, does he, as the number 1 Andre Lotterer comes up behind Sebastian Buemi.
The significant thing about this lap is that it's a lap plus a pit stop, because the number 8 car is still due its pit stop.
Point.
So it's not the situation we saw before when the leader was coming up to lap the number 8 car was even pit stops. This time the number 8 car has still a pit stop to make, and it might then be able to make it through to the flag. Yes, it will make it to the flag. So the number 8 car will have achieved the objective of doing the full 6 hours on one pit stop less than the Audis, but that was something it achieved at Silverstone as well. So fuel economy is the name of the game for the 2012 spec Toyota.
Watch now for the second place battle in GT Pro. It's crossing the line about now, and that gap between the two cars under 3 seconds now. Villander looking with a very bright blue and orange Aston Martin, closing in rapidly. 8.040 seconds the gap, not between those two, but between the first 3 cars in this class, and the cars lapping at, around or under the 220 mark at the moment.
Meantime, Lotterer, the leader at the end of the Camel Straight, is right in the wheel tracks of Sebastian Buemi. One marker light illuminated on the side of the number 1 Audi. Not all of the cars have got them here, but the ones that have are using it. It's a system, of course, that was pioneered in the American Le Mans Series, although they haven't had it for a couple of years. Supplier issues being cited. The ACO now, and in fact for a few years, have had their own system, and it would appear that is back up and working again, and we'll hope to see that at Le Mans, driven directly from the transponder.
It's a new system. It's a new system this weekend for the first time. Not all the cars have it. Some of the P2 cars, you'll notice from trackside, don't. But by the test day, all the cars will be back up and running with the 3 marker lights on the side.
And I think that's important because I speak to quite a few spectators in between times coming to races, and it was mentioned a couple of times at Silverstone that they don't work. And it's like a lot of things, you know, once you have them and you expect them, you can't then take them away. I'd like to think that Radio Le Mans is one of those things as well. No, quite. But no, I think it is important for spectators here to see what's going on with those position lights. Very simple idea, works well.
It's been a cracking day of sport as we head into the last 55 minutes of this race. The gap at the head of GT Pro continues to come down. It's been sunshine that's been the order of the day in the Ardennes, and a big crowd here today, packing the grandstands on the start-finish straights and around the circuit. It's a big track, but there are lots of people trackside taking the opportunity to see the second round of the FIA World Endurance Championship, which had an Audi 1, 2, 3 on the grid, although it was Audi 1, 3 and 2 in terms of the times set in the aggregated qualifying from yesterday. And Andre Lotterer went off like a scalded cat, but couldn't get the number 1 car slowed down at the apex of La Source, drifted out onto the AstroTurf and let not only his 2 teammates through, but also one of the Toyotas. However, that began a big fight back from him. The big incident early on in the race, a very scary looking crash indeed for the number 25, the Torgraves, Antonio Pettonia and James Walker car. It was Antonio Pettonia in the car, and the Delta ADR stood up to it very well, and he walked away from it.
And the tyre, as we saw from that replay on the screen, John, was fully inflated. It had to have been suspension. It
was a suspension failure in the middle of the right-handed part of Eau Rouge. A genuine battle, Graham Goodwin of dailysportscar.com, in that early part of the race, and indeed for the majority of the race, between the new for 2013 in terms of us seeing it racing, number 7 030 030 Toyota, and the Audis, and they led on pace.
They did lead on pace. It was almost Le Mans-esque from last year, wasn't it, at that period of the race, and I think it's mouth-watering things to come at Le Mans and beyond for the WEC. Great news that Toyota produced a quick car, a car that can go, you know, basically head-to-head with the Audis this year, but what we need to see now is, can they do it with reliability?
The GT battle has ebbed and flowed a little bit. The 81 8-star car has been the one that has held sway in the arm for quite some time, and in the Pro it's been mostly the 2 Ferraris, but this is a race that's been categorised by some accidents, but mainly by near misses. Tom Christensen taking a real chance to go past the Lotus and the Krone Racing Ferrari. We have lost a couple of cars, notably that number 7 Toyota, as the 91 Porsche of Patrick Pilet has been reported stopped at turn 5, which is the end of the Kemmel Straight.
It's out.
On its out lap, says Paul Truss. We'll come to you in a moment, Nick. Not been a great day for the Delta ADR guys, as their other car ended up in the wall as well. And then the big moment of the race in the second half of the race was the number 7 Toyota going into the pit lane, as it's had an issue with the hybrid energy recovery system that caused a problem with the rear brakes to overheat, and that car was subsequently retired. Some kind of oil issue for the 31 Lotus brought that car back into the pit lane, and it's set up quite nicely for the end of the race. And that battle in GT Pro has just taken a turn because we've started the final set of pit stops. The 71 car, which has been leading, has perennially been the car that comes in first.
It has, John, but the other thing that's also happened is Fred McAvicky has put a bit of a spurt on, and that gap was 8 seconds to Jimmy Bruni.
The 1, 2, 3 Audis have been leading in all sorts of formations. What's your overview of Spa so far?
Yeah, man, at present it looks really good. It's a pity that Toyota number 7, for whatever reason, had to retire. It looks as if they would have had a technical problem. Until then, it was really a close fight. Yeah, but on the other hand, it needs to go 46 hours as fast as possible, and you have to be constantly quick. And I hope that the rest to the 6 hours will run without any troubles.
And looking at your new car, the number 3, what are your thoughts on it? Are you pleased with the performance?
I mean, the number 3 car, we have it running here in the Le Mans spec, which is for sure not the optimum setup for this racetrack from the aerodynamic side. But I think it works well, and they are competitive as well, and we learn quite something for Le Mans.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And meantime, Loic Duval has got the hurry up, and the wiggle is certainly on there. A 2:01.083 is that car's fastest lap of the race.
Point we're just about to go to, John, when Dr. Ulrich came to the mic, is that Fred McAvicky not only has taken advantage of Orlando bringing the 71 to the pit, but has halved the gap to Bruni in the lead of the class. 3.8 seconds now as they're on their lap 127, and is closing rapidly on the 51 car. So the 98 Aston Martin is closing in. They're coming across the line now. 3.8 seconds, 3.865 seconds the gap.
Now we may be finding out what's happened to the Porsche. Yes, we are. It's been attacked by a Ferrari. It's been attacked by, guess which one? 51 car. Jimmy Bruni leading the class, and Jimmy was not anywhere near there to getting through.
Cars 51 and 91 is under investigation. Now this is the point at which they may regret actually playing the brinkmanship game with their beloved Freitas, because my guess would be, in those kind of situations, what are you going to do? You're going to go with the car that's behaved itself most of the race, or the car that hasn't?
I think Aston Martin have looked in here, because I think that 51 car is going to get parked for quite a while as Patrick Pilet walks away to one of the excellent viewing spots at the end of the Kemmel Straight. However, he won't be thinking that at the moment, because those pristine white Porsche Sport overalls should be getting sweaty in that 91 car.
More to the point, has that damaged the 51 car? Because certainly the ultimate pace in that car does not appear to be there. 40.7 first sector.
Oh, and we've got a tyre off the rim, and this is the 49 car, but it's right at the pit lane entrance. This is the Pierre Caffer in the 49 car. The left front Michelin tyre is off its rim, and he comes into the pit lane. The carcass is a steaming hulk. Now, we don't know what caused that.
It's gone already.
P2 leader.
This is the P2 leader. It was going, and then gone as he'd come through Stavelot and Blanchimont, and the front wheels locked up there, not because of the tyre, but because it's not really on the ground. That's real heads-up driving from Caffer to get that car anywhere near the pit lane on effectively a rim. Now, they will have to have a look at the bodywork here, because there may have been a little bit of damage at the front.
Alan Tanier at the rear of the car, watching over this pit stop.
Alan Tanier is?
He is the pit lane, the chief pit lane marshal for the WEC, the sheriff, Alan Tanier. Highly respected by the whole paddock, and a great bloke to have around.
Think
in the
Dick
WEC.
Martin with a different accent.
Absolutely, and a moustache. And that's exactly what you've got. Fred McAvicky, meantime, has got the gap to Bruni down to just a smidge over 2 seconds. And what were we looking at there, John?
That was one of the marker boards. The polystyrene marker boards is being comprehensively demolished or again halfway up the Kemmel Straight, and it's the third. It's the 13, and Matthias Besch has been off.
I think that's right. There's dust around the front of the car, and there's what looked to me like little flecks of polystyrene stuck to the bodywork.
Yes, once again,
let's wait and see.
Sherlock Goodwin here. He's got his magnifying glass out and is doing some DNA testing.
2:21.688 from Bruni, 2:19.787 from Machiavicchi. It's the Italian against the Frenchman. It's the Italian car against the British car, and that gap is coming down again. 1.8 seconds.
Down to Nico Prost in the pits. Well, apologies, we're not getting that sound from Nico. That, I'm afraid, is not coming to us from the TV truck. They've got the wrong mic fade up. Oh, there we go. Hello, Louise.
Going on to Le Mans, what does this mean for you? What can you take from it?
Well, I mean, you have to be realistic. We don't have the financial means of the works team. So for us to be first privateer is very good. We were first privateer in Sebring. We were first privateer in Silverstone. If we can do it here and Le Mans and everywhere, it's already a good achievement for the team.
Thank you.
Thank you for persevering there, Louise, as well. I mentioned this earlier in the weekend. I saw a recent interview with Nico. They were talking about electric racing, actually. It was on a Formula One show, but all the guys they talked to, Bruno Senna, Nico Prost, Luca Di Grassi, are all sports car drivers, which I thought was quite funny. And they asked Nico about his test driving role for Lotus and, coming back to single seaters. He said, nah, I don't think so. Quite enjoy my test driving, but I'm loving the sports cars, and it's nice to be able to race for trophies and races that my dad never would.
That's a fabulous point of view, isn't it? What, by the way, the Pierre Caffer unscheduled stop has given us, John, is lead battles in two classes now. Caffer has actually rejoined in second position. He's now 6 seconds back from Olivier Pla. That huge lead they built up, courtesy mainly of the safety car in the race, has gone and is being closed in now by Lucas Luhr. So it's a three-way battle, 21 seconds between the top three in LMP2. What has happened there? Machiavicchi has gone through for the lead because Bruni has pitted the 51 car from the lead.
Down to Nick Damon in the powered by Nissan pit lane.
Yeah, John, we've got a bit of action. The 49, which did come in with the damaged rim, also actually took the opportunity of changing the nose section. The other car currently in here is the AF Corsa machine. I think that's the 51 currently in the pits. I can't see it's got the damaged front end, which may or may not be in trouble in a minute for an incident with the 91. The key point with the 91, though, is actually just before it had the problem, its outlap, the car had been wheeled into the garage for about a minute to have some work done before it was then released again. So there's a possibility that it may have had a problem before they're coming together.
Okay, thank you. 44 minutes to go. There's a yellow flag at turn 18, which is the chicane.
That'll be the debris, John, I'm sure.
The tyre debris.
Yes, it just comes up, they're removing debris at turn 18, 19. Fastest lap.
Chicane before the end.
Correct.
Yes, yeah.
It's the last corner here.
2:1.253 for Luca Di Grassi in the third place, number 3 Audi. This is the long-tail car, of course. Fastest lap of that car's race.
Andre Lotterer on board has stretched out to 47 seconds his lead, mainly because Loic Duval was stuck in behind another car and wasn't very happy about it, but traffic is going to be something you have to deal with. Pierre Caffer, God love him, he's got right back on it, and he is absolutely flying again. Clearly no issues on that car. Now here's the news that we were talking to, and David Richards, I'm afraid, has been proved wrong. Stop and go penalty for cars 91. That's irrelevant, the car's off at the side of the road, but not irrelevant is 97, Darren Turner, who is in second place in GT Pro, and 98, the leader. So Jimmy Bruni is now on a sweat as well. Romain Dumas might yet have a shot at this as we head back
Nick,
down to Louise.
This is not what we want to see right at the end here.
No, he's, I don't know what, I haven't even checked yet how far we've lost on this. Is a puncture or is probably some debris somewhere? There is the race is being, the long races like this, you always get debris somewhere, or some problem with the front the front of the car. I don't know. We've changed everything we needed to change, and now Pierre is in the car with a fresh set of tires. He's going to push hard, and we'll see what happens.
Thank you.
And he's pushing. He is pushing indeed. He's got 8 seconds to find on Olivier Plat. He's made an extra pit stop. Let's just go through that again then. This is the GT Pro. Now, this was all about the Astons and the 91 Porsche at the end of the only safety car period that we've had in the race. This was a long, long time ago. We heard we had Eduardo Freitas quite clearly say, at the end of this lap, we will bring in the safety car. However, the pits will not be opened until the last car has passed the start line.
And the only other piece of relevant information, I think, in that debate was a further note on the timing scoring screens, information screens here, that asks the Aston Martin racing team to switch the information screen, the message screen, back on. So they believe, I think, that the Aston Martin team had actually missed that instruction. One other pertinent piece of information on the screens right now, John, is there will be no further action for that incident between the 91 and 51 cars. There's no further action for that incident. So this is going to shake the order up quite dramatically. Not hugely, remember, because we know a stop-go here does not cost you a lot of time, but it's going to be enough, I think, to put those Ferraris back where they will feel they should have been in the first place. I'm not sure that's going to be shared by the Aston Martin team, because, of course, we're going to have to see the Aston Martins pit twice now. Once for stop-go, once for their final scheduled stop.
And in they come. Well, at least in one of them is coming immediately. Nick Damon is in the pits. Is it the 98 or the 97 car?
Wait to see, just to update, the 32 other Lotus, yes indeed it is the 98. The 32 Lotus come in for a similar look at the 31, and to finish another story, it does have red flashings to the side of its lights compared to the 31. The 98 will go, it will just tap down very quickly. That's a full stop brake, and it's going straight. Oh no, it's waiting. Okay, they've actually stopped, and they are stopped, and they're having a look at it in some way. So I'm not sure whether you're allowed to do anything on a stop and go.
No.
They're looking at it. I'm not sure whether they're doing anything more than pulling stuff out. I'm not sure whether they really need to read these regulations. They haven't actually changed the tyre or anything, but they're
fueling it. Yeah.
I think they've chopped something up.
In which case they can take their stop and go the next time around.
Yeah, I think they're fueling that, and they fueled it and they cleaned it, and now so that wasn't the stop and go. That was the
no, correct.
That was the pit stop, which should take to the end. And
by the way, Loic Duval giving a beautiful display of how the drift at R18 round Pouhon as he went down the hill there. Thanks, Nick. Back to you in a moment. We'll wait to see how that GTE Pro battle shakes out. Down into the pit lane with Louise and Tony Villander.
At the moment, but they have got another pit stop.
Yeah, we're not completely sure what's going to happen now. We pushed so hard the whole race, and Camus is now in the car for the last stint. We decided to do the race with the full 5 stops, so we'll see now. I think Aston's got some stop and go, so everything is open again. GT racing after 5 hours 20 minutes, everything is still open.
Not just for you, for the 51 as well. You've both been hard and dominant here.
Yeah, I mean, after Silverstone we bounced back. We analyzed very well our race there, and we found some margin of improvement. And of course, we drivers, we try to put our input and improve and push as hard as we can.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Louise Beckett's working hard down in the pit lane. Now, thanks to her, we've got 38 minutes left to go. Think about this in the next 10 minutes, the Spirit of the Event Awards that we tend to have here at Radio Le Mans. Meantime, Paul Truswell says...
straight onto the shortlist, Andre Lotterer bringing the #1 car in for its final pit stop. I was about to say that he could expect to come in anytime soon. What he's done is he's chosen to come in ahead of the scheduled stopping time and just put fuel in, and then he should be on his way again. And this should be the final pit stop for #1, and that's really throwing the gauntlet down then for Loic Duval in the #2, because they've got everything to do. They're short on fuel. I think they've got enough fuel for about another 5 laps. And we'll see what happens as they go through now. And #2 is going into La Source as #1 is coming out of the pit lane, stays ahead. So that was why they brought it in then, so that he could stay ahead.
You win races in the pits as much as you do on the track.
That race engineer that they've got in that #1 car, she's good, isn't she?
I think she might have a future in this thing.
Almost certainly.
Yeah, good old Lena. Done it again. She pulled exactly the same tactic at at Silverstone, of course, to short fuel the car and get track position.
Yes, but that was a slightly different situation because she had to bring the car in at that point. It was just that she didn't fill it up. So it wasn't quite the same trick, but it was fast thinking.
About track position. Nick David. Yes, Nick.
98 and 97 have both done their stop and goes, and they are leaving line astern. 98 ahead of 97. I think 97 still owes us an actual refuel. So certainly 98 stop. I think 97 kind of. I'm not sure it actually reached 0 miles an hour. It was still kind of sliding. It was all locked up, in fairness.
It was a second quicker than Darren Turner, the 97. So as it stands, thanks Nick, as it stands at the moment, Jimmy Browning leads again in GTE Pro. I think he can think himself lucky not to have been called for avoidable contact on the 91 car, I'll be honest. I've seen those called. I've seen them given. Absolutely. And given the disciplinary record of the 51 car this weekend, I think it's even more interesting. In second place at the moment, just having gone out the pits, is Fred Makovic in the 98 Aston, and third is Darren Turner, also out the pits. Kamui Kobayashi was only 11 seconds behind them, and I'd like to see how that's going to shake out when we see those, because that is by far and away not yet over and done with.
No, John, and across the first of the timing beams were there. The gap from Bruni to Makovic is currently shown at 0.588 of a second, with Darren Turner a further 1.5 seconds behind. But Makovic has done both his required stops now, hasn't he?
Yes.
Will he need another fuel stop?
No, he's done his fuel stop and he's done his stop and go, as in comes number 2, Nick David.
Yes, Makovic has done all his stops. Number 2 comes in. This will be fuel, not a full fuel. It will be enough to run for 35 minutes, so most of a tank.
They're going for a new drinks bottle as well. That pressurised system made by the guys at Progressive.
For those who wonder, we are beginning to lose the light slightly. It's masking a bit, and it's the lights are shining very bright in the car, so we're going to see some good driving into the gloaming, in fact, on this today, which is nice to know. Still fueling up. The drinks have been done on the number 2 car, and it's gone away, fired up, and off it goes. And that should be our last Audi visitor, or is it the number 3 one more time?
No, number 3 should come in once more as well.
And just for the guys trackside here, those top 4 cars in GTE Pro currently separated by 11.234 seconds, 10.27 seconds now. The one, though there's a slight joke in the pack, is Darren Turner, who does owe us, I think, a fuel stop before the end of the race. Yes. So we'll drop out of that top 3, but the gaps as they cross the line, from Jimmy Bruni to Fred Makovic, 0.978 of a second. Darren Turner almost exactly a second back from that, with Kamui Kobayashi, it's easy for me to say, a further 10 seconds back from Darren.
Leading the AM class for a long time, 8-star, here's Enzo Potolicio with Luis.
Vince, a superb Spa for you in the AM category. Got to be happy. It's been a great Spa for you.
Yes, it's great. I mean, in Silverstone we had a 3rd place. We didn't have a competitive car. We improved our chassis a little bit, but I think Aston Martin and Chevy are holding back, thinking about Le Mans. But we'll take the win, and we just have, I did two good stints. Rui did his job also, so we've been really consistent in the car. We just have to hold for another 36 minutes, and we'll take our first win for our American team at 8-Star Motorsports.
Thank you.
Also should just mention that at the head of the P2 field, the first 2 are within 14 seconds. Pierre Caffer has got back ahead Lucas Luhr.
Must have pitted that car, I think. It must have been his final stop.
He's only done 6 stops, and it was only a 57-second stop when he came in. That's pretty cool.
That's going to be a race to the flag, and it's a handful of seconds there too. So another class going to the wire here, John.
Yeah, I'm very, very impressed with what we've seen as the number 8 Sebastian Buemi Toyota does its last pit stop.
It is going to finish on 1 pit stop less than the 2 Audis, so there is something there that's going to be possibly significant. Fewer or less. Yes.
In GTE it's Malicelli back at the wheel of the 8-star orange Ferrari with a minute and 47, as it has been since that safety car. Really, it has not been eaten into at all by the chasing pack. 95 Aston of Alan Simonson in second place, and he's got better part of a lap as well on Julian Canal now. In the 50 Chevrolet, Road Gotek has gotten into the Aston Martin. That's the number 96 car, and he's dropped a minute and 20 seconds back. Not sure what's happened there.
It's going to be Roll's pace. Roll can't live with Julian Canal's pace, I'm afraid. But they'll be giving they'll be giving Roll as much time as possible in the car as Darren Turner comes down the pit lane, as we just said, from third in GT Pro.
Yeah, we'll do the GT Pros in a moment. For the guys, they're doing a tear-off and they're filling the car with fuel. Tom Christensen looks relaxed in the pit lane. 50.9 seconds now, Loic Duval. I can't imagine he's going to be able to pull that back. He matches the leader Lotterer in the first sector, 35.2 to the 10th. It is getting dusky at the top of the hill, and the dust that is hanging out there, you can see now clearly catching the headlights of the GTE cars. So now that Darren Turner's back into the fight, let me give you the GTE Pro running order, with just 2 seconds between the 51 Ferrari and the 98 Aston, and another 10 seconds back to Kamui Kobayashi. So 51, 98 and 71 are now within a dozen seconds again, as they were earlier on in the race. Darren Turner is 9 seconds, excuse me, it's just reset itself, is 32 seconds further back, 22 seconds further back. But there is the battle. Just caught a moment of it with Jimmy Bruni, and coming down through the final part of the downhill section, he's just put a lap on another Aston Martin, one of the AM cars.
That was Jimmy being held up slightly by one of the GTE AM Aston Martins.
As Lotterer now pulls out to 51 seconds.
That gap has been inexorably growing. I've been sort of keeping tracks of it, and if you go back to lap 131, we're currently on lap 152, so that's practically an hour ago. We're running at about 29 laps per hour. So that the gap then was 43 seconds. The gap now is 50 seconds. So it's going up and going up, but ever so slowly. But it's noticeable, isn't it? I mean, that combination of Lotterer, Trellier and Fessler has just stamped their mark. And yeah, I mean, it's setting a very nice setup for Le Mans, isn't it?
Don't forget, if you want to keep in touch with what's going on at the FIA World Endurance Championship, follow at FIAWEC on Twitter, and when you're commenting, it's hashtag FIAWEC. That P2 battle still just about 15 seconds at the moment, and as I say that, Lucas Lowe comes across another timing beam and has taken some time out of Pierre Cafferin. It's down to 12.6. That'll be traffic. Oh, somebody was off the circuit there, and that was an Aston Martin way off to driver's right. That was very odd indeed. Not even sure where they'd been on the Kemmel Straight there.
Prepared to guess that as Roel Goethe at this point in the race.
Okay, as Luca Di Grassi carves his way again through the traffic.
Simon Simonson in the very strong second place at the moment in GTE AM in the 95 GTE AM Aston Martin Vantage.
Nominations then for Spirit of the Race. Paul said immediately Andre Lotterer.
Ooh, I'm going to think about that for a moment. I'm minded, actually, to say Nick Heidfeld.
I'm going to put the Pecom car in there because I think they've done very well, notwithstanding the issue they've just had with one of their tyres, but also should mention that Luis Perez Compact more than held his end up.
He most certainly did.
He did. They did get some help from the safety car.
I was certainly expecting to see Mike Conway take great strides into that lead, and he just couldn't do it. And it was mainly because that Lewis was actually keeping a very consistent pace, a second or so off his ultimate pace.
I'm also going to throw into the mix as well someone who hasn't had such a good day today, and that's the crew of the 7 Toyota, because that's a brand new car, and I think they'll be fairly pleased with what they've achieved. Okay, didn't get the car to the end, but we've seen consistent happy smiling faces from Toyota. We've had doors opened to us, all of us as members of the press.
Well, I mean, John, I can't imagine any other area of the sport where the chief designer of a car on the grid of an international motor race would walk a journalist round and point out the changes they've made. And that's exactly what he did for me 20 minutes before the cars left for the promotion lap. I'm going to see what I've got in terms of what we've got on tape and see whether or not that might be available to you from Midweek Motorsport.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. So at Specutainment then, for your nominations, either someone we've mentioned or someone that you like, and at Specutainment on Twitter. It's a completely unofficial award, and there's no prize, no trophy, but we name it after Robert Goodman, who is one of our long-serving Radio Le Mans members, and always had a smile on his face whatever job he was doing at Le Mans. Hasn't been with us for a couple of years now at the track, but well remembered by all of us, remembered fondly by all of us, as the leader gets rather too close to the leader of GTE, and for my liking, as he heads downhill into turn 9 after Rivage. There's no need for that, Andre. You're putting your Spirit of the Race award in severe jeopardy there if you punt the 8-star car out of the way. At Specutainment then, for your Spirit of the Race event, it doesn't have to be about performance in terms of what's been achieved, but it's about how the people have gone about what they've done this weekend, and you've got about 20 minutes before we announce that. Get those in as quickly as possible. How close was Andre Lotterer to Malicelli? He was... Oh, he touched him. He definitely tagged the right rear with the left front, and you see he's missing the periscope.
Well, I was about to say that had nothing to do with visibility, did it? There was no way that you could, really, it was entirely down to him. There was nothing that Malicelli was doing wrong. It was entirely down to Andre just misjudging the speed at which the other car was going. That's not to criticise Andre, because I stand by what I said. I think he's driven the Sterling race. But that type of thing, that type of misjudgment, is what can cost motor races, particularly endurance motor races of this nature. Although it's that kind of attitude that means that they have been quicker on their average lap times than the number 2 car has.
We have swings, we have roundabouts in sports car racing, don't we? And on one of them at the moment is GTO Pro battle, because at the moment Fred Makovicky cannot live with Jimmy Bruni's pace. That gap is opening out lap by lap now, 6.5 seconds to the good, the 51 car, the leader, and beginning to fall into the clutches of Kamui Kobayashi behind. So could we be looking, rather than an Aston Martin 1-2, at a Ferrari 1-2?
Certainly possible, although I'm not sure there's time for it to happen, is there? We've got 24 minutes of the race.
As Kappa pits from the lead of P2, that will allow Lucas Luhr to go through. It's a splash of fuel required, and surely another Spirit of the Race award for Jota could be in the offing, as well as a very nasty moment for the 88 driven by Gianluca Roda in 4th position. He got a horrible tank slapper on in the 88 Porsche, turned in and the car snapped sideways on him, as Pierre Caffer is now going to go from the hunted to the hunter. Nick Damon.
Yeah, number 3 is coming in for their last stop, Lucas Ingrasson. Interesting, Lucas on the pit, on our group walk, I actually asked him whether he was going in second or last. I meant second or third. He said, no, I'm doing both, and he has. He went in second and he's gone in last as well, with Oliver in between. This is just a fuel only to the end, so it won't be a particularly long fill, and off he goes out. Not quite sure when the Jota was last in, whether that's going to need a splash as well. I'm sure Paul can answer that.
It was last in at half past 7.
Ooh, it's tight then.
So, yeah, it's going to need a splash.
P2 can't go an hour on a tank.
No, it'll need a splash. As indeed will Oliver. Oh no, Olivier Plas had his, hasn't he, in the number 24. So he's secure.
Russell Webb has the right idea, having to bathe the kids but not wishing to miss out on the Spa 6 hours, streaming the radio in the bathroom. Well done. Nick Heidfeld in Rebellion, says Mike Smith, for the Spirit of the Event Award. Certainly.
I got one, you've not asked me.
That's a pretty good one. Nick Damon is going to...
He didn't ask me, so I was thinking about it. No, I've got one.
Yeah.
Eduardo Freitas. He's run this like a, he's laid down the law. I think he's been hard but fair, and we've seen warnings followed through with action.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that. I think he's doing an excellent job, very clear.
And I just mention, if you didn't join us at the beginning, there was a very, very touching moment where on the official radio, Eduardo had arranged with the TV guys to focus in on a banner and post Marshall's post 21 to a French lady marshal who was injured last weekend at Le Mans, which I think was GT Open last week.
Not Le Mans.
And she'd come into contact with the car, and not in a good way. And he did a very touching message in French over the official net while the TV focused in on that. So yeah, okay, I'll go for that one as well. You've got 15 minutes to decide, everybody out there at Specutainment. Yeah, get the nominations in, and I'll sort of total them up as we go along, and we'll make a winner later on the last 5 minutes of the race. Eau Rouge, what a corner, says the flaneur. And the weather has been nominated by a few people as well. Can we start a petition to get Eduardo Freitas on Twitter?
Who says he isn't?
Yeah.
You never know.
So the last 21 minutes here on 106.5 FM here at the track, and thanks to Spa Circuit for giving us the transmitter to be able to do the English language commentary for the many English language speakers that are around the circuit and in the press room. It's been a revelation this year to have a full power radio service that's able to be listened to all the way around. FIAWEC.com, of course, streaming the video. New nose went on the 49 as well. That can only be as a problem from the tyre that went earlier on. Seeing some replays on the screen now. And our next sports car coverage, endurance racing coverage, is this weekend on RadioLeMans.com. Live and free coverage of the Avon British GT Championships, Avon Tyres British GT Championships at Rockingham. Definitely do qualifying tomorrow afternoon. If we're there in time, we'll try and do the second practice and the whole of the race. It's a 2-hour race, first of the longer distance races on Bank Holiday Monday. That's not tomorrow, but the day after. Check RadioLeMans.com for the timings.
Kobayashi is going to catch at this race Makovic before the end of this race because he's reeling him in at around a second a lap. Well, half a second the last time around, but he's got a gap of what's that? Just about 7.1 seconds with 20 minutes of the race remaining. It's going to be very tight indeed. But Fred Makovic needs to keep up the momentum and must, by now, John, be struggling with tyres.
Yes, and anyone who gambled perhaps on going to a slightly softer compound at the end, that may have been a gamble too far, trying to make up positions. 51 seconds at the head of the field. You have the feeling that barring any misjudgment by Lotterer in the traffic, then this one is going to the defending world champions.
Yes, and as I say, it's not just as a result of the way the pit stops have panned out, but it's on the track as well. Sheer pace, not just from Lotterer, from Trelier and from Fessler as well. They've done a good job between them. Just looking down at the other classes and anything else that happens, as Graham was just alluding that it might, well, let's just keep it at it might, is going to have to happen on the track. The pit stops that are needed, by all that I can work out, are all done and dusted.
Lucas Luhr, maybe?
Luhr, yes, Luhr has a splash to do, doesn't he?
So that will make a change.
Sorry, yes, we'd said it, so I kind of had written it off. No, but you're right to mention it. So we do have to keep an eye on Lucas Luhr with 20 minutes, just under 20 minutes of the race still to go. But it's settled out nicely. One other thing to mention is that I reckon we've only had 3 retirements. We had the obviously very public Toyota garage being closed with hybrid problems on that car. The accident for Antonio Pizzonia's car early in the race, and Patrick Pilet, who was nerfed or who had contact with, let me choose my words carefully, Jimmy Bruni at the wheel of the 51 Ferrari and ended up out of the race. John?
But we have got a problem now for the 31 Lotus, who's just rounded the final corner, and I think is about to grind to a halt with a right rear puncture. No, that tyre looks okay, and the old Control-Alt-Delete, 3-fingered salute.
It's James Rosser at the wheel of the car.
No, the tyres all have air in them, but that car crawled out at the final corner.
Not the first time we've seen it do that during this race. I was actually about to say congratulations to for a much more competitive showing from certainly the 32 Lotus that almost collected the Aston Martin, didn't it? It just died on him. The 32 Lotus, a much more competitive showing in only its second race. OK's fallen back a little, I think, with its last stop, a longer stop for Thomas Holzer in that car, but running 7th and running in the pack of LMP2. That's good news for them going forward.
Just to underline, by the way, there is no live TV coverage from Rockingham of the British GT race. If you want to hear live coverage, it's radiolemans.com or anything. Or nothing, rather. So there is some live Silverstone coverage in a couple of weeks' time. We'll have some commentary on that as well on radiolemans.com.
There's also the Spa 24 Hours, which is not a Radio Le Mans production, as far as I know, John.
They won't let us come.
But what I would say
about
it is, from a pure spectator point of view, if you've sat at home, think seriously about making the trip. Look it up on the web when it is. It's sometime in July. 24th? Not sure. It's just after the kids break up, so you might even be able to bring them, if you're in that way where you're bathing kids now, think, well, how about it? You get yourself organised with a cheap hotel, and it's 3 hours from the Channel port.
Potentially 70 cars this year for that.
Before
race.
that, there's the Spa Classic here as well.
There you go.
6 hours, which I'm sure our travel partners at Travel Destinations will help you out on either of those.
Absolutely.
At Le Mans Race, those lovely people who look after all of our travel needs, and you also think that
you do,
DSC boys as well.
I can't recommend them highly enough. My stress levels are dramatically reduced.
If there is anybody from Spa 24 listening, I don't know why you don't answer our emails, but we would really like to come and cover it on Radio Le Mans.
Please.
And do full coverage, because there isn't any full live coverage of the race, unfortunately. So we've got 15 minutes still to go. Nick Damon down in the pit lane. Anybody looking nervous?
Everyone's looking nervous, because obviously at this point it's all or nothing. The Oak Racing, the 24 team, seem to think they've either got a chance of getting another position. I'm not sure whether that's possible, that if the Toyota car smash and dash, they can get past them.
I'm just going to interrupt you for a moment. Now, I think that was the earlier incident we're seeing now, the 88 car getting spun around and poo on. Yes, it is. Sorry, Nick, we were getting a picture on the screen that wasn't entirely clear whether it was live or Memorex.
Oh, don't worry, I've made that mistake about 15 times in half an hour normally. Oh, it's a replay. So yeah, I think the Olivier Pla is, the question is really whether they will get anywhere near Lucas Luhr when he comes in for his splash, which I assume he still has to do. And the rest of them, I think really the chance with Fred McAfee and Aston Martin must be ruining the fact that Eduardo didn't listen to their reinterpretation of the safety car rules, because those 9 seconds are 6 seconds less than the amount of time less than the amount of time they lost having to make that stop and go.
And it does look now as if Fred McAfee has managed to find enough pace left in whatever remains of his Michelins, because the gap has stabilised now between the second placed Aston Martin, the 98 car, and the 71 Ferrari. It's about 9.7 seconds back from Bruni in lead, with a further 7 seconds the gap back to Kobayashi, and it's stayed like that for the last lap or two now, with 14 minutes left to tick down on this clock.
Should also mention the Nürburgring 24 as well, which is only another hour further on from where we are at the moment. Full live coverage on radiolemans.com for that classic, which is a Sunday and a Monday this year, helping the DTM competitors get from, ironically, from Brands Hatch back to take the start of the race. So that will be Friday, Saturday, Sunday and Monday, and that same weekend is the next round of the European Le Mans Series, and we should be able to have coverage for that on Radio Le Mans as well.
Isn't it, at Imola?
Yes, so that's Friday and Saturday at Imola for ELMS, and Friday, Saturday, Sunday into Monday. It doesn't finish till 5 o'clock European time on Monday to bank holiday in Germany that week. It's a very, very busy month of May, magnificent May, with this race, Laguna Seca for the ELMS at the weekend, and then Nürburgring the following weekend. And as I said, we've got a bit of British GT, because having a day and a half off at home over a bank holiday weekend doesn't seem right when there's,
damn it, we're British.
When there's motor racing on my doorstep that I can go and talk about instead. The 24 Hours of Spa, by the way, is the 27th and the 28th of July. Thank you, Johnny. Cabana Boy, he's doing the production for us back in London at the moment and has been doing a sterling job. Thank you very much. We've had Tim, Toby and Johnny now this weekend.
Lucas Lohr now getting the hurry up and putting in the fastest first sector, the time for the Jota car, as he looks to just get as much of a gap as he can in advance of what we're expecting in the last 10 minutes of the race to be a splash and dash. Meantime, forget all I said about Makovic having, about 3 seconds ago, about Makovic having stabilised that gap. He just lost 2.5 seconds in the previous on the previous time around, and has lost a further 4/10 in the first sector of this lap. So that gap is now 4 seconds with those 12 minutes left in this race. And second place in GTE Pro up for grabs.
Oh, the leader once again. What is it about that orange, bright orange?
Magnetic. It's magnetic.
Ferrari that Andre Lotterer has a mental block about. That's twice he ran into it last time, just barely touched it. That time he nearly nailed it coming down through to the bottom of the hill at Fane, and that would have been a huge accident.
Enzo Bartolacci must be getting a bit of a kind of complex about late race nerfings.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That was quite amazing. Jim Cameron at Tank Slider, hello mate, good to know that you tuned in from the Mission Motorsport, at Mission Motorsport guys. Should mention that we've got some of the Mission Motorsport guys working on a full-time basis now for Aston Martin in the WEC. Jota Splash and Dash from the lead of P2 coming in now. I'll finish that thought in a moment. Nick Damon.
They're in, the fuel has gone on, and it shouldn't be more than 5 or 6 seconds. Stop the engines if you have to.
I think that's too long.
And
it's got 10 minutes
out.
left.
About 8-9 seconds, I reckon.
And, problems refiring.
And Peacock's gone
through. That's a disaster. That's taken a good extra 5 seconds of fire. Now, he was always going to be behind the Peacock. The question is about the 24 Oak, though, guys.
24 has gone through, and second place has gone as well for Jota.
Oh, that was all the car not refiring. The fuel was done.
Well, and that's potentially ruined. It would have been 2 from 2 here. They won the WC race last year here, of course, as the LMS guest entries, and it would have been 2 races on the trot for Jota, having won the LMS, the rain-shortened ALMS race at Silverstone last time out. So a bitter goal there for the guys from Kent.
Just to finish the thoughts, race, retrain, recover, Mission Motorsport, lofty ideals for soldiers coming back, having fought on our behalf all over the world and coming back in less than the pristine condition that we sent them out, finding gainful employment and motivation as much as anything else with Aston Martin. And I think Aston Martin should be absolutely applauded, Aston Martin Racing, for taking those guys on merit, it has to be said.
And they're not the only ones, because Base Performance, which is the company that Darren Turner owns, which is a performance simulator company, were persuaded to actually take one of Jim Cameron's trainees on a kind of work experience basis. He's now a full-time employee as I believe, the global sales manager.
And I think Chevron cars as well. We're doing the same thing at Donington recently. Mike running Chevron up there. I haven't seen Mike for ages. Mike Pickup,
absolutely. PK Sport from Team for the Ages.
Well, he's at Chevron nowadays.
LMS.
So we are down to the last 9 minutes, and we will be thinking now some 48 days hence to the Circuit de la Sarthe, and the next time we see these cars will be for the biggest race in the world, and that is of course the 24 Hours of Le Mans, made even more important this year as it is the 90th anniversary of the original running of the race back in 1923, when at that time, of course, it was run. You think that qualifying's complicated now. The original years of the 24-hour race was actually aggregated over 2 years. So you didn't get a winner at the end of the first 24 hours. You had to come back again.
That's what I call
in 1924 and race again to find out who had won the average.
And that was without the internet.
That was without numbers. Numbers weren't invented then. But there was someone akin to Paul Truswell who was pushing little stones around, telling everybody whose average was best.
One of the things I liked, it wasn't in the very early stages, but during the 30s, was the way they used to score the race in those days, was each team had, if you like, a big flip chart over the top of the pit. And every time the car came through and completed a lap, you tore a page off this flip chart. And on the flip chart was written 1, 2, 3. And so the spectator could look at the pits and see how many laps had been completed by each car.
That's genius.
But how easy. All you had to do was just tear off a page of your flip chart, show the next number, and you knew how many laps had been completed by each car.
Are
in
you
the race.
listening, Gerard Neveu? That's what I'd say. What we need is 35 flip charts.
You just need number boards.
Fantastic.
Eliminated number boards, Nick.
Is that where the phrase "going for a tear-up" came from?
Going for a tear. Very good.
Could be.
7 minutes left to go.
And 5 seconds is the gap between second and third in P2, John.
By a goodly margin on your votes are to at Specutainment. Eduardo Freitas is going to get the Spirit of the Event award this weekend. So congratulations to Eduardo. Not sure if he's listening at the moment, but I know that he would say, as any of us would who work in amongst other people, that it was a team effort, that he will accept it on behalf of his team.
And I think that's right, because one of the things that strikes me about his approach is that it is a very, how can I put it, marshal-centric approach. He's not a man in a suit.
No.
He's not a man who's come into motor racing from some other sport and said, right, I will show you how to direct a motor race, because it's just like directing a theme park. He is coming in as or at least with a marshal's approach to racing, which is all about enthusiasm, all about doing the right thing.
And safety.
Yeah.
And also he wants to see as much good racing as possible. You know, I've just done an interview actually for Michelin Online, and we were talking about it. I'm not going to spoil what I said in the interview, but it'll be worth looking for the next few weeks, because you'll have noticed there's been no safety car rants in WEC events from me. It is my cause célèbre, but the regulations have been rewritten with less regulation in them. Huge amounts of text has been cut out of the regulations this year, and particularly in the safety car columns, and I think they've done a pretty good job. I have been reminded by Nick Holland, of course, that we will be, as RadioLeMans.com, we will be at Test Day for Le Mans, which is Sunday, June the 9th. Happy birthday, Mother, in advance. I missed Mum's birthday again, even though Le Mans been moved, and there is no other live coverage from there. So again, it's RadioLeMans.com, your first place for endurance racing action.
And it looks a little static in terms of the gaps coming down here. If anything, Lucas Lowe's lost a little ground to Olivier Pla the last time around, and Fred Makovicky at the moment is holding that gap, closing slightly on the leader, but not enough to make a difference in the remaining 5 minutes, I'm afraid. But 9.8 seconds is the lead gap in GT Pro. It is 23 seconds the gap for the leader between Kaffa and Pla in LMP2, with Le a further 7 seconds back now. But GT Pro, Bruni from Makovicky, from Kobayashi, from Turner, 9.8 seconds, as I say, the gap 1-2, a further 5 seconds back to the third place car, and then with Darren Turner, a fighting 29 seconds further back from that. He's brought that gap down dramatically in the last hour or so.
I'm told that that Michelin interview about safety car rants is already online, so thank you very much indeed to the guys at Michelin for getting that up as quickly as they have. Nick Damon down in the pit lane, final thoughts from you with 3 minutes and 58 seconds to go.
A great first couple of hours, and a lot more questions left unanswered and answered. Certainly once number 7 went out, the car looked very good, would have been in the mix, probably would have come third, I think, but it was the car's got some pace, and that's the first race failure I think we've seen since Le Mans last year, isn't it? They haven't failed in a race since then.
Yeah, okay, I'll buy that. LeMansLive.com, www.lemanslive.com for that interview that we were talking about. Graham Goodwin, dailysportscar.com editor. relatively problem-free, other than that high-profile 7 car, as we've mentioned. Obviously, problem for the Greaves car before we even got the race started. That was all over and done with for them. In fact, packed up and gone. Something to talk to Tom Kimber Smith today and doing an interview. He's gone. Everything's gone. No sign of him. What will you take away from this one? Not necessarily just at the front of the field.
Great performance by Audi. Actually, not a bad performance at all by Toyota. With what's, let's not forget, is a new car in race conditions. Great performance all weekend by Rebellion. I think it's been a big highlight for me. Good battle in LMP2, slightly spoiled by the safety car with that big gap, but came together at the end. GTE Pro, mouth-watering prospect for Le Mans. Great already with the WEC with the 7 cars, and I hope we can keep the 7 cars for the full season. I know Aston Martin are working hard on that 3rd car being here. But I think that I'm on 24 hours. Frankly, look at this. Look at the things in the background. Should swell the crowd by thousands, as we've got a Ferrari in the pits.
And that is the Marco Ciocci
leaving
car.
the pits. That's leaving the pits after its drive shaft repair.
Paul Truswell, final thoughts from you as we're coming down towards the last lap.
Yes, what a great race. We want to hear from Eduardo.
Gentlemen, we are approaching the last lap procedures. We are approaching the last lap.
That means that it's going to be 168 laps.
Is that more than 1,000 Ks?
Oh, yes. I don't know how exactly
somebody asked,
it is, but it is more than 1,000 kilometres.
Right, okay.
No, I think it's been a great race in isolation. There's a lot of potential for the 24 hours. But I think the overriding message has been that the quality has been there throughout. Endurance racing has long been all about, yes, some high-profile manufacturer teams, some good running, some enthusiastic, well-run independents, and then some that shouldn't really be there, but we need to make up the grid. We're not getting very many of those at all now. Graham's wanting to say something.
Just wanted to say that the number 1 car is about to start the last lap.
No, it is on its last lap.
There you go, with 1 minute and 9 seconds remaining on the clock. Sorry, Paul.
Yep, and whatever the last lap procedures are that Eduardo was referring to, we're now into them. There's probably a section in the regulations that says last lap procedures. Can't remember exactly what it says, but in effect, that is what we are now on.
No, Andre. There's one more. There's one more.
That was before he crossed the line last time around. There is a slight delay as it comes through. He did sound a bit tired there, didn't he? How many laps did you say, Paul?
168.
Is 1,176.672 kilometres.
Wow. Yeah, and that's what is interesting is actually whether that's further than we went at Silverstone. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I think it probably will be further than we went at Silverstone. In fact, I remember a long time ago at, how many did you say it was, 1160?
1176.
1176, yeah, a long time ago I went to Monza for 1,000 Ks, which turned into a 6-hour race, and that was 1160. But no, what I was trying to say is that there aren't any teams out there that shouldn't be out there. This is a World Endurance Championship, and everybody is world class, and I think that's very good from my point of view, very significant that we've got a strong championship.
Just going to keep a fine eye on GTE Pro, because all of a sudden Fred Makavicki's pace has fallen off a bit of a cliff, and that gap at the moment is down to about 1.6 seconds as the cars come into the final sector and will cross and will go around again, I think, John.
Yeah, I think the GTs will. They haven't seen the checkered flag yet. It's the number 1 car that's going to win it. Alan McNish is first to congratulate his teammates as we wait for the number 1 Audi to our right. There's all kinds of fireworks going off. It's not that Audi, and there's now, of course, a lot of smoke on the start-finish line, and these cars have still got a lap to do, and Makavicki's just gone through, and Kobayashi was right up his tailpipe.
1 second.
But the second round of the FIA WEC will be won by the number 1 Audi. Andre Lotterer, Marcel Fessler and Benoit Treluet comes out of the final corner. The super bright headlights on the Audi are flashing, and he goes through and wins it. John Martin comes through right in his wheel tracks, but the interest is still out on the circuit, and we can see this on the split times, because Makavicki is being held up, and Kobayashi's right there. Kobayashi is right behind him. He's taken that second out of him. They're absolutely together, 98 and 71. If you're round the circuit at the moment, this is not over. They've still got probably 5 kilometres to do. Bruni will win the GTE Pro class, as will Pecom in the P2 category from the 24 and the 38. We'll get some interviews in the moment, but this race is not over yet. We're watching the Audi going the wrong way down the pit lane, which always scares me, even at the end of a race. But at the moment, it's about Machiavicki in the 98 Aston and Kobayashi in the 71 Ferrari. They have not yet come to the second split point. Here comes Pierre Caffer into the final corner, and he cannot be beaten as he comes round. We still haven't had a split time from them in the second split. That seems a very long time to me.
There they go, still the same order, and the gap's gone up, if anything, John.
So Machiavicki and Kobayashi still battling. It's just about 1.1 seconds now, as through comes the second place Morgan. Now there is Jimmy Bruni in elegant isolation, as we're still waiting for the Pro winner to come through as well, the 81, the bright orange Ferrari.
Yeah, sorry.
The AM car, thank you. And Machiavicki and Kobayashi. Oh, they're absolutely together. About a second between them. Here comes the AM winner. Now it will be 8-star. Malicelli's done a great job for them. Where did they find him? And are there any more like him at home? And look in the background, we're still waiting to see this battle. They've gone through now, and it is by 1 second that Fred Machiavicki holds on to that second place. It was tight at the end.
We didn't actually see it, but I have a feeling that the number 3 car of Lucas de Grassi actually didn't necessarily get involved, but across the line, Lucas de Grassi was between them, and the Aston went through ahead of the Audi, the number 3 Audi, and then the Ferrari.
Okay.
So there was split by a second, and also Lucas de Grassi.
My thanks to Graham Goodwin, who I know has got to go and do some work for dailysportscar.com. Down in the pit lane, Nick Damon. Not able to talk to us at the moment, so let's hope that we can grab 1 or 2 interviews with Louise as well. Well, thank you very much indeed for all the kind comments on Twitter, on the Midweek Motorsport Listeners Collective at radiolemans.com for this 6-hour race, and thank you for your forbearance earlier on with some issues that we had earlier on that were not of our making. All of the archive will be sorted for you, but that is the victory for the number 1 Audi. Audis 1, 2 and 3 are 1, 2 and 3 at Spa as we get ready for the run to Le Mans. Well, let's head down to Louise Beckett's with Andre Lotterer.
Andre, just look at that. Audi 1, 2, 3, and you're on the top spot.
Fantastic, isn't it? Yeah, what a race. Didn't start so well for me. Bad start, but recovered pretty well. The car ran fantastic. We did a good setup, so all 3 drivers could push. Then we had this puncture. It set us back quite a lot. And from then on, it was pushing even harder and even harder. So Ben and Marcel were great as well, and it's a great reward for our mechanics. They worked so much, so many hours, and it's great to be back on top here. Especially here, it's been my home track, so I grew up here, so it's fantastic. Really happy.
Thank you.
Very happy Wolfgang Ulrich. And the podium celebrations are next. More sports car racing here on radiolemans.com from Rockingham tomorrow and Monday. Check radiolemans.com for the details. And then, of course, it's the Nürburgring 24.
24 hours of Le Mans.
And the big one is
the most fabulous race in the world.
The 24 hours of Le Mans.
Fast.
The ultimate goal. No fear. Winning or losing.
And it's about to trade at the end, goes back through, fantastic!
Day and night.
Fiat Team Le Mans.
At the Dunlop area, we have yellow flag.
Porsche corners, Mazan Blanc, cutting. One section. The 24 hours of Le Mans. To know who will win, come and see us. Be there, sur Le Mans.
Gerard Neveu, the man at the head of the FIA World Endurance Championship, behind the scenes with the Audi drivers who will sweep the podium here. 4 rings, 3 steps. Job done, I think, Paul, as far as Wolfgang Ullrich is concerned. It's pretty close to Germany here, and there was a lot of very important people in the pits and paddock for Audi, and that doesn't do their funding any harm at all.
No, nor their reputation. I can't say I'm totally surprised. I think an Audi sweep at the podium was not unexpected. The number 8 car was never going to be able to beat the 3 Audis on pace. The one that might have done, retiring with mechanical issues, problems with the hybrid. So, you know, it was always going to be a hard job for Toyota to break the Audi stranglehold. But once again, you know, there were no mistakes, were there? It was the only problem for any of the 3 Audis was that puncture which befell Benoit Treluet. And apart from that, it was clockwork as usual. And of course, talking of Le Mans, we're going to have the same numbers, 3 Audis, 2 Toyotas, at Le Mans as well. And, you know, that just removes, I was saying to somebody, if you think about it as like it's a game of snakes and ladders, you know, if anything goes wrong, then all of a sudden, if it goes wrong with Toyota, it's knocked your chances by 50%. If it goes wrong at Audi, then you've still got 2 cars running.
Yes.
So you have to say they do what they do very, very well. But let's not lose sight of the fact, this race last year, Toyota weren't there.
Correct. Yeah, a year's a long time in endurance racing.
And Toyota's progress from 0 to where they are now is very good.
Out comes the 3rd placed drivers. This is the number 3 car. Luca Di Grassi. This was the long tail car, of course, with Marc Genet and Ollie Jarvis. McNish, Loic Duval and TK in 2nd, and our winners, the defending world champions, Marcel Fessler from Switzerland, Benoit Treluet from France, and Andre Lotterer from Germany. Seems kind of appropriate in such a multicultural society that we have here in Belgium. And the national anthem of the winning entrants. And a very big crowd and a very enthusiastic and knowledgeable crowd give the appropriate response to the podium celebrations as Ralf Juttner goes and congratulates all 9 of his drivers. Over 1,170 kilometres completed. Pierre Fillon, the president of the ACO, the Automobile Club de l'Ouest, the people behind the phenomenal success that is Le Mans, presents the trophies to the P1 and overall class winners. Audi's number 1, 2 and 3, on steps number 1, 2 and 3. I do think that is very interesting indeed what we saw today. As Paul said, perhaps not entirely unexpected. It tightens up the battle at the head of the championship standings, but extra points of course at Le Mans for the longer race. Not often you see a chef to keep one having his photograph taken. Somebody asking for a photograph there of Wolfgang Ullrich, but he is as big a part of that team as any of those 9 drivers who were standing on the podium. Champagne coming in just a moment, I would think. Who gets the cork out first? Oh, the winners were a bit slow there. It was the 3 car that got theirs uncorked quickest. And the smell of champagne in race suits, not pleasant. Not pleasant at all. A minute and 54 seconds between the top 3 at the end, completing 168 laps for 1,176.6 kilometres. Should mention that it was the number 8 Toyota in 4th position on lap 167. On lap 165, it was the best of the privateers, the 12 of Nick Heidfeld, and the 13 Matthias Besch right in behind him. The television's just decided to knock itself off, rather unfortunately. I think that's a pretty, Bart Hayden and the guys at Rebellion Lola, and I've just had a text through from Martin Burain. Hello Martin, I owe you a phone call actually. I'll try and give you a shout before I go to the Nürburgring. 12 and 13, the Lola chassis, life in the old girl yet?
Indeed, certainly they were well matched. That's good to see. At least you know that they were both trying as hard as they could. 2 laps shy of the number of laps completed by the Toyota. All 3 Audis, as you were mentioning, John, as you say, separated by less than 2 minutes. That meant that they're all on the same lap. Another illustration of the competitiveness that Wolfgang Ulrich so much encourages in his team.
Oh yes, there's proper racing. The real winners today is anybody who came to the beautiful Ardennes Spa-Francorchamps circuit and parked themselves around the 7.004 kilometres of tarmac, because the weather has been outstanding. So often we talk about Spa where the weather plays a part in a negative sense. It's added to the spectacle today. The cars look great under the bright sunshine, and some 6 hours and 14 minutes ago we got things underway with Andre Lotterer leading into the first corner before just going a tad wide and letting his 2 teammates and both of the Toyotas through. He was down in 5th position, bit of bumping and barging at the first corner, and a bit of bodywork going up in the air there that I've never noticed before, that I've now watched that about 4 times. A big accident for the Delta ADR 25 car that saw that brief safety car period. Delighted to say that Antonio Pettonia was fine. The RS5, just the one safety car. And the first half of the race, in fact the better part of the race to be honest, until about the 4-hour mark, was categorised by Audi and Toyota number 7 in particular. I mean, it was there for a while, but number 7 clearly, the new car has a bit more pace, which they unlocked a little more of today before they had their issues. And indeed, the 7 car led on pace. Toyota did lead this race once again. 1 or 2 misjudgments at various times, Stracker getting caught out, completely not their fault. And then the GTE Pro battle, which seemed to be all down to Ferrari, the 51 car taking 2 penalties. Tom Christensen showing he's lost none of his reflexes as he goes for gaps that appear for a moment. Audi's imperious at the front of the field by just over half distance, and then really it was a run home for them, although we did think the number 2 car might have a go towards the end. Not a good day for Delta ADR, both of their cars involved in incidents, and the big story of the second half of the race, the number 7 into the pits twice with overheating rear brakes, diagnosed as a problem with the energy recovery system that wasn't working on the back wheels, and that was causing the back brakes to be overused and therefore overheated. It's the 1, 2 and the 3 in that order. Perfect stuff for the Ingolstadt brand. 6 hours and all on the podium. In P2, the 49, Orica takes it, and well done to Luis Perez Companc, Nick Manassian and Pierre Caffer. In second position, the 24 Morgan Nissan, Olivier Pla, David Ennemeyer Hansen and Alex Brundle. Nissan Nismo power for them, and Lucas Lohr in the 38, bringing home the 38. Again, Jota powered by Nissan Nismo, and he shared with Ollie Turvey and Simon Dolan. They are the top 3 in P2, and I thought that was pretty decent run there as well. Jota not quite doubling up as they won here last year, and of course won at the ELMS in that rain-shortened race at Silverstone. Lucas Lohr, a good addition, I thought, to that team there today.
Yes, I mean, P2 is gradually getting the various things that it needs. First of all, it started providing good racers, but it didn't have enough really top-flight drivers. It's got now some really top-flight drivers. What I'd like to see in it now is some high-profile sponsors.
Good point.
Some family names, you know, the Coca-Colas, or I mean, we have Gulf in there. But you know, I'd really like to have a bit more of that proper sponsorship in there.
Yes.
Because that will raise its profile, and that will interest the spectators more, because then they'll be able to look and say,
that's the Kellogg's car.
That's the Kellogg's car.
That's the whatever, yeah.
Or the Coca-Cola car, whatever it is. And that's the one thing it lacks at the moment. But no, P2, high-quality racing, high-quality drivers, just needs a little bit more to capture the spectators' imagination a bit.
Yeah, agree with that. In GTE Pro, 51 AF Corsa from 98 Aston Martin Racing, from 71 AF Corsa, and that is the next. Oh, that's interesting. I think we just saw these guys a moment ago, so this is...
No, we had the Privateers.
We had the Privateers, of course we did, which was, of course, the 2 Rebellion Lolas and the Straka number 21, my apologies. So that is the P2 podium. Chris Beerman there, down on the pit lane. So that is Luis Perez Compan, Nick Manassian and Pierre Caffa in the Oric 03 Nissan Nismo. Olivier Pla, David Hennemeyer Hansen and Alex Brundle in the 24 Oak Racing Morgan Nissan, and the Zytec Nissan for Dolan, Turvey and Lohr. And now the national anthem of the winning entrant. And for those of you who are not up on your national anthems, that was, of course, the long version of the Argentinian national anthem, the entrance of the PCOM racing team. So now they will spray a bit of the fizzy as well. The tube trophies, which seem to be the fashion for this year.
Being presented by Roland Brunzrider, who's come out of retirement for this event.
I would not have recognised him if I was honest. He's looks a little different from the last time I saw him.
Former would say the same thing about you, John.
Well, probably yes.
Age is not kind to any of us.
Former FIA and Formula One safety delegate.
Yes, I don't know his exact title. Whether he was race director. I think he might have even been race director.
Yeah, I think you might be right.
But
isn't that nice to see, down in the pit lane with the rival chef d'equipe from Audi and Toyota, just having a chat and exchanging pleasantries.
And didn't you get the impression, John, when we heard from Wolfgang, that he was genuinely upset that they couldn't take the fight to Toyota to the end?
Yes.
There was no hint of...
oh, there's no sarcasm there or anything like that.
Exactly.
No edge. No.
He was not being patronising or anything. He wants a good race. and if he has it amongst his own cars, fair enough, but he likes to have it against somebody.
So we're waiting now for the GT Pros to come out, and then the AMS Always 5 podium ceremonies here. Again, if you are still with us, thanks for joining us, thanks for staying with us. And RadioLeMans.com bringing you more endurance racing over this bank holiday weekend, Sunday and Monday. Check the website for details. As we're reminded of some of the onboard footage, Antonio crash was very, very scary indeed. Antonio out of the car, he'll be feeling sore tomorrow. The belts have bumped in.
Yes, I mean, while it's a great corner to watch from, when things start going wrong there, it's...
You think you're not quite far enough back?
Yeah, well, it's just the change of direction. I mean, it's the same type of thing as you have to do in the Beckett S's, but that the compression makes it so much more visually stimulating. It's a terrific corner to watch from. And I get the impression that most drivers actually love driving through it as well. You know,
in the program that follows us on RadioLeMans.com is our Spa edition of Toyota Tech Talk, and Anthony Davison, in a longer interview with Nick Damon as well as Mathieu Lenel, one of the major engineers for TMG. Anthony talking about how he feels that Formula One has almost outgrown Eau Rouge, and it's a much better corner in a P1 car than it is in a Formula One car. I urge you, if you're on the web, to stay listening to that, and we will have a replay of all of the weekend's action starting from free practice 1 coming up as well. The race archive is going to take a little bit longer because of the issues that we had outside of our control earlier on in the race, but we have it. I'm looking at it, still recording now, and Johnny, Tim, Toby and the rest of the guys, thanks very much for your hard work this weekend. Confirmation there of the P2 classification, 12 seconds and 16 seconds at the line for the top 3, all on the lead lap from Pecom, Oak Racing and Jota, and a Nissan powered podium there. And now to the GTE Pros and the national anthem of AF Corsa's home country being Italy, of course.
Bravo, bravissimo. Et on accueille pour remettre les coups de Monsieur Pierre Fillon, une fois de plus le président de l'Automobile Club de l'Ouest, qui va se diriger vers la 3e place, la 3e marche du podium. Kamui Kobayashi and Tony Villander from Japan and from Finland finish third.
So the top 3 in GT Pro separated by 10 seconds at the line, all on 149 laps. AF Corsa from Aston Martin Racing from AF Corsa.
Jimmy Bruni there with Giancarlo Fisichella, showing off that they know the words of the national anthem as well, having a great time on the top step of the podium there, John, really lapping up the atmosphere, and the crowd has stayed on to give them their applause. And it's still just about daylight. Quite sure that I'd fancy driving home without my headlights on in this gloom, but it's still certainly bright enough to walk back to the car park without having to worry about it. And the second place Aston Martin team there with the Gulf overalls of Bruno Senna, Fred Macavici and Robert Bell. The Astons in the end finishing 2nd, 4th and 6th in the class. The Porsche, the Manthey team Porsche, the one car that remained at the finish in 5th place.
So RadioLeMans.com tomorrow, more live sports car coverage from Rockingham. Be with us then, check the website for details and the full 2-hour race of the second round of the Avon British GTs on Sunday. Confirmation of the AF Corsa first and third, 10 seconds between them. All the leaders, 10 seconds between the top three, just a second between second and third. That was tight at the end. And all of the top three on the same laps. I have to say thank you very much indeed to Paul Truswell and the rest of the team. The next big race for the WEC
fabulous race
is
in
Le
the
Mans.
world.
The 24 Hours of Le Mans.
Fast.
The ultimate goal. No fear. Winning or losing.
And it's about to trade at the end, goes back through, fantastic!
Day and night.
Here 2 Teamers Le Mans.
At the Dunlop area, we have yellow flag.
Porsche corners, Mazan Blanc, cutting. One section. The 24 Hours of Le Mans. To know who will win, come and see us. Be there, see you in Le Mans.
Congratulations!
That's the Stars Spangled Banner for the 81 team. 8-star, great job for them. And that's your lot from the Spa 6 hours. Aston Martin 95 in second and Labra in third. I'm John Hindhaugh, thanks to Paul Truswell, Graham Goodwin, and down in the pits, Louise Beckett and Nick Tierman. That was round 2 of the FIA World Endurance Championship. See you at Le Mans.
Christopher Nigard, Christian Poulsen and Alan Simonsen, the whole Danish team, and the winner with
24 heures du Mans célèbrent leurs 90 ans. À partir de 45 €, les 22 et 23 juin, ne ratez pas le grand défi.